I'm being judged because I pull forward into my parking spot.
Don't blame us for any side effects.
You thrilled our fans throughout the postseason with a great performance.
Gwynn and Chris are ready to go.
Indeed we are. It's been a while, ladies and gentlemen, since we've been in studio. Skraby could not find my mic.
I actually turned on Chris's mic. Chris is not here today.
I don't know why I didn't sit over there. I just thought of it as you said that. I could have sat in the big chair.
I call it the power chair.
The power chair. But I came right to my spot. Welcome in to Gwynn and Chris on this Thursday afternoon, 2:01 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby. It's just us today. Chris Ello out. And talking a little Padre baseball. We got a 30 mile zone. We got a big five.
Yep.
Some of your favorites.
Yep. We're
Yep,
we're gonna be talking trades later. We're gonna try to stall as much as we can before we actually have to talk about the Padres.
No, we're not. We might as well let's just jump right into it.
Rip the Band-Aid.
Padres come off of a tough road trip. At best, it could have been 3-3. They blew, obviously, the last game in Cincinnati, and you knew going into Philadelphia facing the likes of Christopher Sanchez and Zach Wheeler that, runs were going to be tough to come by. Runs had already been tough to come by, and they get tougher when you're facing that kind of pitching. And Padres lose 2 of 3 in Philly. They had the doubleheader yesterday. They took game 1. They took advantage of Mick Abel and some pretty pointed words after the game from Mike Schilt in terms of the offense. Do we have sound on that, or is it just a quote?
It's just a quote.
So Padres win game 1, a big double by Manny Machado in that second inning. It kind of was a second or fourth. I got to go back and look. But they had a 5-run inning there.
I think it was a second.
It was a second, I think. I think they added one later on. But nonetheless, they went into game 2. They had a 1-0 lead, and it's just, it's tough to make a 1-0 lead stand. The Padres have done it multiple times, a lot of times this year with all the shutouts. But offense like that, they found a way. Padres could only muster up to 1 run against Sanchez, who was really good once again. But I go back to Mike Schilt's comments after game 1, and I'll read you the quote. He said, if we do that, talking about the approach that the Padres had in game 1, this team is going to be virtually unstoppable. It really is. We were very stingy. We weren't going to give them anything that wasn't on the plate, and it was an amazing job. If we're stingy like that, there's no absolute in this game. But if you do that with the talent we have in the zone, they're going to have a very dangerous team. And that's what the team did basically all of the second half last year. And that's what they started out doing in April. And they have, I would say, progressively gotten worse in terms of not chasing, forcing pitchers in the zone. And here's the deal. It's easier said than done. Bob Scanlon said that during the post game the other day. Easier said than done. However, they've already shown the ability to do it. It's not as though that it's being asked of them something that we haven't seen them do. They've shown it. They showed it for almost a whole month, and they haven't gotten back to that. And I thought game 2 was, although don't get me wrong, Mick Abel was struggling with his command. Padres didn't help at all in that 5-run inning, in that 5-run second. The same, even though it's harder, I'm not sitting there saying it's not. When you get the likes of a Wheeler and Sanchez, that's really your best, your only chance if they're on. If they're off and they're leaving pitches in the zone, great, you take advantage. But when you are going into those type of matchups, the one thing you have the most control over is what you're swinging at. And obviously, when you're dealing with that kind of stuff, it looks a certain way, as I pointed out in the game yesterday. I mean, Sanchez is throwing a sinker and a changeup that are virtually doing the same thing at different speeds, and it's hard to tell the difference, but they have shown the ability to do it. And it just feels like in those matchups, although it may start well, eventually it reverts back to out of the zone, chase. I mean, I hate comparing them to that team up north, but that is what the Dodgers do really well, no matter who is pitching on the mound. They have guys that they don't chase. They force you in the zone. And sometimes that turns into 9 runs. A lot of times it turns into whatever they need to win because they're, running pitch counts. Again, we've seen the Padres do this before. They just haven't been able to really accomplish it consistently in the last 2 months.
What's the psychology behind it? Because you obviously have a good game in the game 1 yesterday, and then you go away from it. But like you said, with the Christopher Sanchez thing, I was watching TV and they did that the release point.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you really figure that one out?
Listen, again, that was 2 pitches in that sequence to Cronenworth. In that same sequence, he threw 2 sliders that one like nicked the edge on the outside corner and one like missed by inches, not even inches, centimeters. And I mean, but that's what you're dealing with. Nothing was in the middle of the plate at all, with the exception of, I think, the first pitch of the at-bat. He snuck one in, and that's after dealing with court. Point is, it's not easy, but they have shown the ability to do it. They just haven't shown it consistently in the month, and that has shown. Now, on the bright side, there does seem like there's some reinforcements on the way. Yu Darvish certainly is either going to have another simulated game, or he's going to basically be back with the club, it sounds like. So we'll see how that goes. It sounds like King is playing catch like every other day now. So he's been out long enough where he's going to have to build up anyway.
Yeah.
And he hadn't thrown a baseball in a while. So those are, I think, positive pieces of news moving forward.
Those are positive pieces of news moving forward. And back to Christopher Sanchez for a second. He threw 85 pitches yesterday, 60 of those for strikes.
I think it was 80%.
Yeah, whatever that is. Don't ask me to do math, but it's like I have a hard time being a fan and thinking, oh, they just ran into a good pitcher. But that's exactly what it is.
And I want to be clear, against Wheeler and Sanchez, for sure. Those guys are good, top of the line starting pitchers in baseball. So was Abbott, and the Padres ran his pitch count up and got him out of there. They ended up winning that game, right? And he came into that start one of the best ERAs in the league at that point. So again, they're capable of putting good pitching, making it tough on good pitching.
So, okay, so you have a good pitcher. Let's just take Christopher Sanchez, for example.
Right.
And he's not throwing balls. And so you're trying to make him throw as many pitches as possible, but then you're down 0-2 and you're like swinging at stuff that you shouldn't be swinging at.
That's a great question. So, against a guy like Sanchez, he's a strike thrower, but he's also an edge thrower, meaning the pitches you're going to see, mind you, I'm left-handed. So he's either running that sinker like inside corner, and I got to be able to beat it. But if I'm concentrating on getting my barrel there, guess what is wide open now? The ball away.
Yeah.
So that slider that he's throwing, or even a sinker away at that point. And so you got to pick a side, basically.
And just wait for it.
And you got to, I mean, that is the I would say the easier game plan to execute versus, all right, I'm a cover out here and I'm a react in here with the type of velocity and movement he has I'm just thinking left-handed on left-hander. All right, I'm gonna cover the ball away. I'm at 97, 98, whatever it is, sinking. But I also need to be able to react on this ball in. And he's at this point, especially later in the ball game, he's established so many pitches, outer third, inner third, outer third, inner third, that when he does mess up and throw one down the middle, it's hard to be ready for it or be on it.
Yeah.
And this is all happening in like real.
Oh, you mean it's not slow motion?
And, the thing that I often don't take into account, right, is back in the day, at least when I was playing, I didn't have a clock that was like speeding me up. Like I got to kind of take my time to like process, okay, He just went away. He's missed twice out there. Where is he going to go now? With a clock going, I can only imagine.
Like he's taking the mound, and I'm getting in the box. I have to be there by 8
seconds. All right, what just happened? He just fastball in there. He got that slider out there. He can go. He gets shown he's already can locate it out there too. It's not like he's missing. Like I can just see it and spit on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, for the good guys, that's the tough part. Like a guy like Mick Abel, who I'm sure at some point has a chance to be good. When you're missing 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, I can sit here all day. It's like, all right, well, you're struggling. I'm just going to look for the ball. You haven't showed no ability to get the strike. I'm just going to look for something in the middle of the plate. You make a mistake. Even for Manny, that at bat he doubled on. He said after the game, I missed my first 2 fastballs. They were, but the fact that this is how you know Mick Abel is not at that level yet. He got a 3rd pitch right in the middle of the plate. Like you don't see 3 pitches in the middle of the plate that you can 0-2. He's all right. Likely a breaking ball, but I'll be ready. Breaking ball right in the middle of the plate. And he hammered it down the left field line. You're not getting 3 of those center cut pieces with Wheeler or Sanchez.
No.
And so I was happy that they took advantage of the young dude out there that was struggling, but I almost expect that from them. Against the good guys are the ones where it's like, all right, this is the perfect time. This is the time where you have to be able to execute that to give yourself the best chance to beat a Wheeler or Sanchez. And they did that early against Sanchez. There was like a brief little window there where you got Toddy on, he stole, he manufactured a run, but you got to be able to create at least another one of those. And on the flip side, pitching's got to be able to hold up. 4th and 5th inning continue to, for whatever reason, to plague Dylan Cease. His outings, with the exception of maybe
you take out the second time through, he's really good. With
the exception of 2 or 3 outings where it was clear from the very beginning he didn't have it, I think his outings start very similar. First 3 innings, cruising. And then for whatever crazy reason, 4th, 5th inning become a problem. He gave up the 2 runs in each of those innings, and that was really all he gave up at that point. It was just those 2 innings.
Yeah, he usually, like I've mentioned this a couple times, but I went through his game log, and he doesn't really give up more than 3 runs.
Right.
If he does, it's a lot of runs.
And it's in that 4th and 5th inning.
It's in the 4th and 5th inning, and it's so weird how it goes from people can't hit him to guys, everybody can hit him
to can't hit him
at all.
No one
can hit him.
Right.
It's the weirdest thing, and I don't understand.
I would love to hear, what's behind that. All right, let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. More Padre talk.
I got to talk to you about something, though.
Okay. And what's Skraby about?
It's about your assignment.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yeah, let's definitely talk about that. On the other side, more Gwynn and Chris on the other side.
A mix of clouds and sun, upper 60s.
Back here in the Odyssey Palace, 97.3 The Fan. Matt Skraby, Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello has the day off. Got a long weekend ahead. You know, that doubleheader gave us the day off yesterday. So Chris gets 5-day weekend instead of 3-day weekend like I do. And then you get a no-day weekend.
I didn't get the day off.
You should get a no-day weekend. What did you guys do between the games?
Me and Jesse went and got dinner.
Do you guys leave the stadium or you stay in the stadium?
This was like one of the best calls of the year so far. So the bus was leaving and it had been raining. And so we get on the bus. I got on the bus about 15 minutes early. So I'm like sitting on the bus and Don's on there and Jesse and Mud come out, sitting on the bus. And, you know, Pete, our traveling security is like the bus time comes. He's like, what do you guys want to do? You want to wait 5 minutes or you want to just go? And like no one really wanted to say, let's wait 5 minutes.
Yeah, but no one wanted to say
no one wanted to go
here.
And then because we knew it was we just all felt like it was gonna get canceled.
Yeah.
But no one wanted to be like, no, let's wait 5 minutes. You know,
Yeah.
so we kind of sit there in silence and finally Jesse was like, let's just wait 5 minutes. And like right on like 4 minutes and 35 seconds, it's like, all right, game's banged. Going on, you guys. So we didn't even take off from the hotel. Got out.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it was a great call because otherwise, what would have happened if we would have even left? Like we could have been like just pulled off. We would have continued on because bus has to bring everybody back, and so we'd have been stuck at the field doing nothing, waiting to go back.
Is Dave Marcus still there?
Dave Marcus was there already. he went on one of the earlier buses.
Because we were doing the early show this week, and Dave texted me at like 11 one morning. Hey, can we test the
11 your time?
Yeah, I'm like,
so it was
Dave,
it was 2 their time. So yeah, for sure, he was definitely
there 4.5 hours early.
Yeah, no, that's
all right.
That's Dave Marcus.
Let's talk about Dave Marcus because I'm so happy that Kevin Acey wrote this in the newsletter today. Because
about Dave Marcus?
No, about you replacing Mudcat on TV.
Oh yeah,
I am so happy that something was said because everybody's been asking me. And I keep telling everyone it's a nothing burger.
It is a nothing burger. These deals these schedules are made like in January. So like this wasn't like we knew it was coming all this whole time. And you know, as far as I know, it's just about getting us acclimated on both ends of it. I've been doing games on TV every year since I've been here with the Padres.
Yeah.
The only difference this year is I've done some on the road versus all of them at home. That's truly the only difference from what has been. It's happened to have been in series like the Dodgers and Phillies. So I get it.
And the sleuths out there are like, well, Tony only fills in when Mud is gone, but Mud's actually on the radio right now and Tony's there. So yeah, that means Tony is taking over TV.
Nothing like that is happening. Mud is the OG, man. I love that dude. He's like a uncle for me. So
he hasn't really done much radio from what I was reading in his career, and listening to him, like radio is really good for Mud because he's able to expound like even more so than he does on TV.
Mud is awesome either way. But yeah, no, I haven't seen any of the conversation, but I've heard some of the conversation. So
I even asked you last week. I was like, can you tell me something?
Yeah, I hope that clears it up.
It should, because this is what AC wrote in his newsletter. A Padres spokesman said the recent switches were to give both men experience in the different mediums, but that no permanent change was planned for the foreseeable future. So
boom.
There
you go.
We put it to bed.
I'll be back on there again. I think the series at home against Philly will be my next one.
Okay. That is the last series before the All-Star break.
Correct.
So you got Rangers coming into town. You got 4 with the Diamondbacks. You got 3 with the Phillies, and then you have the All-Star break. You see Jurickson Profar hit a home run in his return yesterday.
I did see that.
The jokes were aplenty on social media.
I'm sure they were. Low-hanging fruit.
It is low-hanging fruit. I came across this ESPN article, and we're going to talk to Sam Levit here at 2:40, just about everything that's going on. And we're also going to talk about this.
Is Sam coming in the studio? Or
no, he's on the phone, actually. Okay. You know, he did 12 hours yesterday, or whatever it was.
Good for him.
Good for him. It's a baseball way of life.
Yes, it is.
And we are going to talk about this Guardians pitcher. Yes, Luis Ortiz at 3:00, because we're not going to make any bets, but there has been a suspension by baseball, Guardians Luis, or he's been placed on administrative leave through the All-Star break as they investigate
That's paid
two
leave, so.
bets that were made, and we'll get into it. It's kind of crazy, but we'll get into it. I was reading this article earlier from ESPN, and they listed every single team, and they said this is the person that they should trade for. And the Padres had someone very interesting. They said to trade for Marcell Ozuna. And
What is that going to cost?
a lot, but he's not having the best year that he's ever had.
Read his numbers.
I got to go get his numbers.
No, I'll get his number. You go ahead, finish your statement.
Okay, well, this is what the little blurb says about it. The Padres have used their DH slot to give Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, and others an occasional day off in the field, but it hasn't worked, with the Padres ranking near the bottom of MLB and OPS at DH. Ozuna's June slump is a concern, but his OBP would be the best on the team and help boost an offense that ranks in the bottom third in NL in runs per game. Now, there's a couple things with Marcell Ozuna that I think about. The cost is going to be high, I'm assuming. The fan reaction to it.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Like, are we to a point where he has, for lack of a better phrase, done his time? Or are we still holding him accountable for what happened a few years ago when he was suspended by baseball?
That's a good question. I think everybody has moved on, at least in Atlanta. I don't know that we know the answer to that. It'll certainly come up. You know that.
I just never thought Marcell Ozuna would be mentioned with the Padres.
He's only mentioned in this
article.
By the way,
which I thought was interesting because I hadn't seen it.
Where is this from?
ESPN. So it was like it was all of them putting it together, but they did it for each team and they said trade for Ozuna.
I know Alex Anthopoulos has already said they're not selling, no matter what.
No matter what.
Yes. He went on a Atlanta radio station and basically said, we're not selling, we're looking to add. And so I don't know if I think that was before they fell behind the Marlins in the standings, which, I'm sure is not a.
It's been a tough year for the Braves.
It has.
It's been a very tough year for the Braves.
It has. So they're getting some reinforcements back. I know Jerickson won't be eligible for the postseason, but he can still certainly help them get to the postseason.
That's going to be weird. Like, say Jerickson has this like crazy second half and then he's just not allowed to play.
It'll be a reminder. Like, that's consequence.
The only other thing about Marcell Ozuna that I think is not working in the Padres' favor is that he's a free agent next year. So it would be
a rental. Yeah,
yes,
for sure.
And he's making $16 million this year. So I'm not sure that Marcell Ozuna is the right guy. That is a lot of money.
Is he the right guy? I think he could be the right guy. But if you're doing that, I think that also means you are committed to playing Gavin in left field more often, because Marcell is, I don't know when's the last time he's been in the outfield.
It's probably been a while.
DH for quite a bit. So,
well, let me ask you about that, because now that Gavin Sheets is playing better defense, and I would like to throw Chris under the bus real quick while he's not here. And he said it was irresponsible for the Padres to play Gavin Sheets.
I remember when he said that. I referred to it the other day when I said that everybody was losing their mind about him playing left field.
Well, hitting the wall twice did make everybody
hit the
pause.
wall once.
It's still
was worth
his chalk line's still on the wall out there. But now that he's playing like good enough defense to cover left field, do you think that they need to trade for a left fielder, or can Gavin Sheets be the everyday left fielder for the rest of the year?
I think it would be good to get a right-handed outfielder
in a trade.
However you're going to get him. Yes, I think it would be good. I think that gives you the option to DH Gavin more.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you some more flexibility against left-handed pitching.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would say. I would say you still get one.
Do you think that there's do you think that time not is running out because there's still a lot of season left, but do you think that AJ needs to make something happen sooner than the trade deadline?
I don't think there's a difference between, at least currently, as we're talking, between right now and July 30th.
Because we're not there yet, or
I don't, unless it's a significant move, I don't see it changing anything in that. Like, if you do it now versus waiting, I think that the market's going to develop more.
Yeah.
If you wait, you're going to see because there's a lot of teams that are in it still right now.
Yeah.
If you get to if you do it now, you may not have all the options available to you. Now it starts to get down the road and you see that nobody's really moving and everybody's, okay, then you kind of go from there. But yeah, if you can make a move now, make one. But if you can't, you gotta let it,
because there's teams like the Diamondbacks who no one really knows what they're gonna do at the deadline.
And they could be a team that's like, we gotta move some of these guys.
The Guardians too. I've seen Stephen Kwan on a list for the Padres because he is coming up on a contract. So Stephen Kwan, I don't know is what they're looking for, but he is a left fielder.
Yeah, I don't know if Kwan's the guy. You already got Luis. I don't think you need.
Yeah, you don't need two contact guys.
It's not even. I just don't know if he's left-handed too. It's you got two lefties.
Doesn't make a righty.
Two lefties don't make a righty.
Two lefties don't make a righty.
That's right.
All right, everybody out there, I hope you're having a great day because it feels like a holiday already in this building for real. Like Tony and I think, are the only people in this building.
It is empty in this bad boy.
It is empty. And we always get the email. Chris and I said this the other day. We get the email saying everybody's allowed to leave at noon on Thursday.
No, that means everybody's like, I'm not coming in at all then.
But that is exactly what that means. So we'll be with you until 6 p.m. I'm going to talk more about trades a little bit later in the show, but when we get back, we're going to get Sammy Lev's thoughts on the Padres, what they need to do going forward, and the series against the Rangers over the weekend. Stick around, 97.3 The Fan.
Gwynn and Chris on The Fan.
Have a little bit of. He's just trying to get me in the direction of. We're going to catch up with Sammy Lev here in just a couple minutes. Tony said, ooh, what's going on over there, Tony?
Instagram was going on over there.
Instagram. I didn't quite say, stand by, like Dave Marcus does.
No, you don't.
I usually go, here we go. And everybody scrambles for their
We
headphones.
just kind of came on air there. I didn't know, wasn't quite ready for it. But
yeah.
2:35 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, not here. Matt Skraby is. And we will have Sam Levit joining us here shortly to talk a little Padre baseball.
He had a long day yesterday, Tony. I don't know if you know.
I can't wait to hear him complain about his
He's
day.
not going to complain to you, out of all people. He texted me last night. What's wrong? You had a day off. And I'm like, what?
Oh, he was coming in hot.
Like, what? I didn't do anything.
He was a little grouchy after his 12-hour day.
Well, I mean, after the postponement of the game on Tuesday, I stayed. Chris and I went from Chris went to 2:30. I stayed till 3, and then Sam took over 3 to 5. And so we kind of had to piecemeal it together like that. And then we had to replay our show from 5 to 6. And guess what I caught on the way to, I was going on a walk. El Mutante.
El Mutante.
I caught that. I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. But yeah, we'll talk to Sam in just a second. Just go back to Tuesday's Big Five.
That was a phenomenal Chris Ello moment.
That was maybe the best Chris Ello moment. Is that one right there, El Mutante? It's pretty crazy. Go back to Tuesday in the Big Five if you want to know what we're talking about, because that's an exclusive club that you have to hear. But before we get Sam on the phone, your Lakers signed.
Before that, I just want to talk about how the off day was nice to have in the middle.
Oh,
but you knew what was coming on the backside of that, which is
pain and suffering.
A doubleheader that, Phillies didn't want to do us no favors at this point.
You know what I thought about? I was like, they want their gate.
They want their gate, and they want separate gates. So
they want separate gates.
So we couldn't have like a game start at 1 and then, run it back immediately. Or I would have even taken a 12:05, 5:05. Bad boy. Just give us a chance to get home a little earlier.
So for everybody who doesn't know what time the Padres got home last night, what time did you get home last night?
I think we landed at 1:20.
Ooh.
And then, bus from the airport to the stadium, and then you got to wait for the truck with all the bags coming. So, I didn't lay my head on my pillow till about 2:55.
Do the players... Do they need to wait for their stuff, or do they just go home?
A lot of them bounce. Like
I was going to say, because they'll be back tomorrow.
They don't even need to. They don't need to wait. We got a couple guys that joined the trip mid-trip, so they had to wait for their bags.
Yes.
But yeah, some of them they don't waste no time with that bag. All right. Skraby's gonna get. Is he on the phone now?
I'm getting him on the phone.
All right, Skraby's getting him on the phone now. Yes, my Lakers did. I think took a gamble on the big man, Deontay Ayton. 2-year deal with, I think, the second year's a player option. We'll see how it goes. What I do know about Ayton is that I've seen him with my own eyes basically quit. Not like quit, he just wasn't interested in playing basketball anymore. So we'll get to that at another time. Let's go to our phone lines where Sam Levit joins us. Sam, I heard you had a long day yesterday, buddy.
Oh, I did, but nothing I can't handle. Little doubleheader, double dip, and we got through it, and the Padres at least got one win, so we're doing just fine.
They did. Sam, obviously a tough road trip for the Pods. They go 2-4. They had an opportunity to probably go 3-3. They blew that last game in Cincinnati. Just give me your takeaway from what you saw over the 6 games on the road.
Well, I think obviously you want to win series, which they didn't do, but I do think they faced a couple of really good teams. I think the Reds are going to be in the mix here until the end, and they've got a great manager in Terry Francona, and obviously we know the Phillies are a really, really good team. So you faced a couple of good teams. You went 2-4, not ideal. You also didn't get swept in either of those series. Look, I think yesterday was sort of a microcosm of their whole situation, honestly, in the sense of, I think it's pretty clear they are not playing their best baseball, certainly offensively,
No
and
doubt.
in the big picture of their season, it's going to be incredibly important, one way or another, for them to start just simply scoring more runs and having their stars be more like stars, having Fernando, in particular, really start to get it going. However, you wake up this morning and they're sitting in a playoff spot, and it's not like they went out there yesterday and got swept in a doubleheader. It still feels like they've been able to keep things afloat and tread water, despite, I think, pretty clearly not playing their best baseball, especially offensively. So I sort of felt like yesterday was the microcosm of everything, right? You find a way to win one of those games. It wasn't a perfect day, but I feel like they continue to tread water with the current state of the roster and their pitching injuries and the way their offense has performed. But obviously, I think in the big picture, there's no doubt to me to get to where they ultimately want to go, they are going to have to start playing just an overall better brand of baseball, especially offensively.
I couldn't agree more, Sam. I think you said it right. It was a microcosm of what the Padres have been over the last 2 months, really, of baseball. Maybe a little less than 2 months. But I agree with everything you said. They're still in the spot where they are in striking distance of being able to grab a playoff spot. They still got time to make this a division deal move into September. Seems like a long shot now, but remember last year they closed the gap and got close. At that point, well, remember the Dodgers have played, even though they've been hurt, they've played. They haven't hit a really bad patch yet. They've kind of been pretty consistent all year. What do you got on yesterday's Pavetta? I mean, once again, where would this Padre ball club be without Nick Pavetta? He has really been kind of the stopper at this point. When the Padres absolutely have to have a win, he seemingly is the one that provides it.
Yeah, I think you look at his overall performance, Tony, and I think he's been great, right? I mean, have there been a couple of inconsistencies? Sure. But I think, everything with guys like Pavetta, and I put Sheets in that mix as well, you've got to put it in the context of what the expectations were when they signed, right? I mean, Nick Pavetta was not signed to be the number one, number two guy, right? This is a guy who, before this season really had good numbers at times, but sort of an inconsistent career, right? When you look at the overall numbers, and has shown up, and he's been so important for a rotation that has dealt with so many injuries, and he's been great. If you're giving out first half grades, I give Nick Pavetta an A. He's been really, really good, and has been, to your point, Tony, a stopper, and has been thrust into basically the number one, number two spot of this rotation because of the injury. So I don't think you can say enough about how good he's been. I mean, yesterday, that Phillies lineup's a really good one, and he did a great job, and he's done mostly a great job this season. So as far as a first half grade for Nick Pavetta, I don't know how it's not an A. To me, he's been thrust into a position he really wasn't supposed to be in, right? I mean, you looked at him when he signed in spring training, like, okay, your rotation's probably, if you're giving out numbers, King, C, Starfish, somewhere a 1 through 3, however you want to rank them, and then Pavetta, right?
Yeah, right.
Because you just didn't know what he was going to be. But considering the injuries, I think he's been outstanding. To me, he's an A, a home run, if you will, in the first half of the season.
Sammy Lev joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. You hear his voice on the pre and post game on every day, every game of the year, and you also hear him on our station from time to time. Sam, I thought Mike Schilt had some pretty pointed comments after game one of yesterday's game about the team's approach, and it's something that kind of noticed has kind of, I say, regressed since the end of April, where a matchup like Sanchez and Wheeler, although would be extremely tough in that month of April, and even going back to really all of the second half, they made those outings for those type of pitchers tougher, where although they may throw up a 1, a 0, or a 2, They had to use a lot of pitches to do it. We haven't really seen that type of approach. We saw it a little bit in the Mick Abel start. Obviously not as nearly talented as those other two guys I mentioned, but what have you seen in terms of approach? What do you think of Mike Schilt's comments in particular?
Well, I thought they did a good job in game one. I mean, Mick Abel, he couldn't throw a strike, and he walks in a couple of guys, and then, as he should, Manny takes advantage of it, right, and finds a pitch he can hit, and he balloons it into a 5-run inning. But look, I think, you have not seen the last couple of months that type of, and look, Tony, I don't pretend to be a hitting guru, so I'm always a little bit hesitant to get into approach and things like that, because it's probably the part of the game where it's hardest for me to really comment on. However, I will say this, just as far as offensively, and I think one of the key differences between the last couple of months to who they were in the beginning of the season and going back to last year, really throughout the season, we just haven't seen them be able to wear pitchers down and also string together innings like they did last year and like they did early in the season. Now, is that about approach? Is that more a reflection about A, guys struggling, and B, the fact that the bottom third of the order, it's been tough for them to be part of that, right? I mean, when you talk about stringing together big innings, it's got to be 1 through 9 if you're going to do that consistently. They haven't had the bottom third of the order, which really allows them to do it. And quite frankly, there have been other spots. There have been other spots in the lineup, with Fernando, where they haven't played well enough to where they've really been able to be that offense again. So, do I think it's in there for them? I hope. They just haven't been able to put together those types of innings that they so consistently did last year and in the very early part of the season. And I guess you could probably look at approach and not wearing down pitchers like they've done in the past. And also, I think it's a bit of just the lineup and how it's constructed as well. I think to me, when they've struggled offensively, it's a mix of those two things.
Talking to Sammy Lev here, 97.3 The Fan. Sam, you have dealt with Mike Schilt all year long in the scrums and everything. So I'm going to try to have you decode something for me, because he was saying Yu Darvish, it was in the newsletter this morning that Yu Darvish may be called up for Sunday's game. And here's the quote from Mike Schilt. When asked about whether or not it's Yu Darvish for Sunday, he said, quote, "Could be, could not be. We haven't made that decision. I'm not saying it is him. I'm not saying it is him." So I tend to believe that Mike Schilt is telling us that Yu Darvish is going to be pitching Sunday. What do you think about that?
Well, here's what I'll say. I feel like I would have to, and Mike, I don't believe, said this on camera or on recording, because we would have played it. This probably happened afterwards, after the cameras were done rolling, after I would assume probably game 2 of the doubleheader. That's my assumption, not knowing exactly when Kevin got the quote. To be honest, and I wonder if Tony would agree, I would have to see him say it, honestly, to know if there's a likelihood that Yu is pitching this weekend, or if this is more of we're not going to tell you. I would have to. That's a
great call.
Mike sometimes says things with a certain smirk on his face that would totally indicate to me there's a high likelihood he's pitching Sunday. But he could also say it in a way where it's like, "Okay, we'll tell you when we tell you." So
this is coming from a man who spends it every day in the scrum with it. It's very accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see him say it, to be totally honest. I'd have to see him say it. I don't know, but I just will say this on the Yu Darvish thing. Look, I think when you look at him throwing, I think it was 64 pitches in that last sim game at Lake Elsinore. Look, it does make you start to wonder, and especially as we get deeper and deeper into the schedule of, hey, if he, put it this way, is he really going to go throw 70-something pitches in a sim game? I mean, at some point, to me, it just makes sense. If you're going to throw, it might as well be in a major league game. Now, I think we all understand a big part of this has been Yu's recovery and his ability. It seems to do that every 5 days, which is totally fair. That seems to be what slowed down, the comeback the first time. So I don't know how much of a question that still is, but it would make all the sense in the world if he's already up to 60-something, 70-something pitches for the Padres and Yu Darvish to look at this and say, hey, if you're going to throw pitches, let's not have it be in a sim game. Let's not have it be in some rehab game in the minor leagues. Let's do it in the major leagues and make them count. And, hopefully you're in a spot where you can throw 5-6 days later. And to me, that would make all the sense in the world. So I believe it. But as far as the Mike Shildt part of it, I got to see. I would have to see him say it. Honestly, I don't know how to read that quote without seeing it.
That's fair, because a couple weeks ago I heard him giving all the media a hard time about Yu Darvish and where he would be pitching. Would he be at a high school locally? Would he be in Arizona? Would he be here? Would he be there? So I can totally see why you would want to see Mike Shildt say that. But I'm just going to choose to believe Yu Darvish is going to be pitching.
It's a very accurate assessment of Mike Shildt in that smirk versus we'll let you know. We'll tell you. Don't call us. We'll call you type deal.
You know what I found about Mike Shildt? If you listen to him, he does tell you things.
100%.
You just have to listen close.
Yeah, you gotta listen, and his facial expressions also are giveaways sometimes. Last one for me, Sam. Obviously we're in the month of July. End of this month is the deadline. How fast do you think the market will materialize and you start to see at least not necessarily actual moves, but movement towards moves?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. I mean, I think we've been talking here in San Diego about the necessity for moves for so long that I think we've kind of forgot. And I think part of it is last year as well, the fact that the Arise move was so early in such an unusual way. I think we forgot that typically these things don't happen until we get really close to the deadline, right? Like even significant trades. I mean, I feel like you don't see a lot of that until you get into late July, or at least most of them. So, look, I think we all understand that there are clear spots where the Padres can upgrade. And I would assume if they want to make a real run at this thing, they're going to have to upgrade one way or another. I just don't know here on July 3rd, if that's going to come anytime in the next couple of weeks. I mean, to me, I would still imagine, just based on what we know about how this usually goes, that movement starts later in the month. And as we get towards the very end of the month and you see the flurry of moves that we typically see at the very end, like the Padres had last year with the Scott and Adam trades, and like they had in 23, obviously it was a different kind of deadline, but with Rich Hill and G-Man Choi and the moves they made that year to kind of solidify the roster. So, look, I would still say, even though their needs are very pressing, I still would expect that's going to be a couple of weeks away at least. That doesn't mean AJ Preller's not trying. I'm sure he is. But, the market doesn't tend to move that early with the trade deadline. What we saw with Luis Arise in May last year, that's really, really rare.
That surprised everybody, rare, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've forgot how this typically works. And it's not easy when you have a clear need in May or early June to just go out there and make some big deal, right? It's just not. So, and I think it also depends what the price points are, right? So,
more teams still think they're in it this early as well.
Of course. I mean, and I know you're coming up against the break, but look at the National League. I mean, there are like 7 teams within, I think the other day it was 4 games of one another, from the top of the wild card to teams on the outside looking in. So I think there's a lot of factors, and we shall see. But obviously there are upgrades that I do think are pretty obvious, as I would imagine you guys agree.
No doubt about it. Sam, as always, man, appreciate you coming on and
thank you,
spending
Sam,
some time with us.
All right, guys. See ya. Thanks.
See ya.
Sam Levit, as always, on point.
I'm looking forward to seeing if Sam has like a 4th of July suit he's wearing tomorrow. Sam seems like a guy who would have a 4th of July suit. He's still on the phone right now, too.
That would be something. All right, let's get to break.
Oh, wait. He said, say it again, Sam.
I don't have a suit. It'll probably be casual tomorrow.
Okay.
Day game.
Fair enough. Sam Levit, as always, appreciate you coming on. Daily Gambit up next. Luis L. Ortiz. We'll get into it. You might want to know who that is. You're going to find out. Gwynn and Chris.
Matt Skraby. That's Tony Gwynn Jr. Just talked to Sammy Lev. He does not have a 4th of July suit, which is very disappointing in my opinion, because he would be the perfect 4th of July guy. I don't know.
Why aren't you the perfect 4th of July guy?
I'm not a perfect holiday guy at all. Like I'm not good at the
That doesn't mean you
holidays.
can't wear a 4th of July suit because you're not a holiday guy.
First off, that means I would have to buy a suit, Tony. Oh, which leads me to a question I just thought of. When you traveled, did you have to take all of your suits with you?
Aha. Give you a little behind the scenes.
Is there a little shipping?
No. I did forget my earpiece, so I did have to have my daughter next day that to me so that I had it for the trip in Philadelphia. But the rule of thumb is if indeed the weather is over 90 something degrees, we go polos.
So, the Padre. This is a Padre rule.
I don't know if it's just a Padre rule. I think maybe it is. I don't know. It might be just a Padre rule. But yeah, it's not really a Padre rule. It's the producer rule.
Okay.
Jason Lewis, who does our production.
All right.
He's our director, or producer, one or two. I can't remember.
How much is there talking in your ear during the broadcast?
Oh, I would say a fair amount.
Like, what are they telling you? This is so interesting to me.
Okay. Well, that's the first thing. So to answer your question,
Yes.
there were no suits
Polos.
because we were in Philadelphia and it was, hot.
Yeah.
Same thing will likely be in St. Louis when I do the games there in August, where it'll be
No one
hell
freak
hot.
out.
Right.
We've already talked about it.
Exactly. What happens, a lot of times when I have to leave the show early, a lot of what happens is you go over the production. So like, for instance, when they showed at the beginning of the game, they show the pitch chart where his 4 pitches are going, right?
Oh, okay.
So we see all those elements before the game.
Oh.
And so you kind of have an idea that what the game is going to have. But during the game, they're in your ear kind of reminding you, okay, this is coming up. We're gonna do this right after we come back from break. Or Tony, you're gonna bring us in. We're gonna talk about we're going through the pitch sequence to Cronenworth.
Okay.
And so they're in your ear constantly. I'll get on the mic. There's something I see that I want them to keep an eye on. So maybe we can put together a package later in the game where it kind of illustrates what's going on, kind of setting that up. And those are just some of the small nuances that I'm learning as I do more TV, kind of, because when you get in there, man, you don't want to, it's like you're in somebody else's house, man. You don't want to put your feet on the furniture. You're just kind of there.
That's a good way of putting it.
You know what I'm saying? You just want to not mess it up, right?
It's way different when Dave is lording over you.
Exactly. But what you find out is they want your input because it helps enhance the visuals and the different things that come up in that game. So it's kind of the things that
TV gives me anxiety.
Who you telling?
I mean, I guess it's kind of nice that you don't have to think about where to go because they're telling you, they're leading you through it. Like in radio here, obviously.
Like
you
one
have
of
to know
the things
where to go.
that I caught myself doing a lot over the last 3 games is giving you score and count. I don't need to do that as much because
it's there.
It's right on the screen. And so I caught myself about halfway through the first game, and it was like, all right, man, you gotta
break those radio habits.
You don't need to keep doing that.
Yeah, that's really funny.
I'm sure people are watching, like, why does he keep telling us to score and to count? Like,
because he's a radio guy, okay?
The pitch just happened. We saw the thing go from 1-2 to 2-2. You don't need to repeat that. And so, yeah, those are some of the things that I'm kind of.
TV, I'm gonna have to one day see if I can get a little behind the scenes on TV because that stuff really fascinates me.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this Cleveland Guardians pitcher. His name is Luis Ortiz, and he is on leave right now, Tony, because he's under investigation over alleged gambling. Now there are we're really breaking this down. This is how closely people are watching these bettors, because there's 2 pitches on 2 separate days that are in question. And the bet that was made was that first pitch of the 3rd inning will be a ball or hit batsman. And then Luis Ortiz in the video, you go back to the first pitch of the third inning. One of them, he throws it, he spikes it into the ground. And so that bet won. Then another bet a couple weeks later was the same exact bet, and he threw another ball. Now, this ball to the Mariners, when he was playing against the Mariners, it was more of like just a bad pitch. It was low in the zone. It just bounced off the ground a little bit. The first ball got the antennas raised. But if he is found to have been doing this, Tony, he is looking at a lifetime ban.
How are you? So here's what I'm going to require.
Should I explain a little bit more? The reason that they found this is because there was two large. I can't say large.
Yeah, but say get your words
there were
right
two
there,
suspicious bets made on these specific incidents, and Luis Ortiz did deliver a ball. So they're saying that's kind of fishy.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I need more evidence other than someone gambled on one random pitch in a game, and it turned out to hit. I need more than that.
I don't think that they're going to put him through all this if it's not like if they don't have some sort of. What if they got the guy who made the bet and he rolled over and said Luis Ortiz did it?
Fine. If that is the case, please bring it forward so that I can make a clear-cut opinion on this. But right now, it's just two random baseballs, that counted for somebody on a prop bet.
But I mean,
you want this to be true?
No,
so
I don't.
bad.
I don't because I don't like this part of the sport because it's going to lead to worse things.
He's under investigation, right?
Yeah, he is.
They're investigating him.
Yes, they are. He's on leave.
Do they investigate people that turn out not to have done what they're investigating?
Yes, they do.
So let's just let this.
So you're saying wait?
Yes, let's just let it play out. It looks a little suspicious. Obviously, that's why they're investigating. But we don't need to form an opinion yet because we don't know.
Because to me,
we know what you think.
To me, it's pretty spot on. Like, who's gonna bet on the top of the third inning?
Really?
First pitch
Are
being
you really
a ball?
asking that question?
You think someone's actually going to make that bet?
I think people make that bet literally every day.
I remember doing first inning bets, like whether or not there would be a score in the first inning. But
how is this any different?
Because Luis Ortiz has complete control over the outcome of this bet.
Time out. Every game, a first pitch of the game is thrown.
Yes.
All of them aren't strikes.
No, they are not.
All of them aren't close to being strikes.
No, but what I'm saying is that when I'm making up this situation.
Okay.
There's a loan shark out there, a sports betting shark out there.
Fine.
And he finds Luis Ortiz.
Sports betting shark out there.
He said, I'm going to put 50 G's on you to throw a ball in the first.
So how's he getting that through DM? Like, is he going to DM him? How is he? Because I'm sure he knows this is illegal. Like, you're probably, I would assume, trying to go. And I shouldn't even assume because criminals and people who do this kind of stuff are
very smart. And
are the opposite of that.
Well, sometimes they're very smart. Sometimes they're very dumb.
Right. That's so
Ortiz could have these text messages on his phone or something.
If that's the case, then you know what? Yes, this is a pretty obvious case. If there's DMs, pretty obvious. It makes it more difficult to refute it. Right now, all we know, Skrabe, is that they are investigating him for a suspicious bet that someone else made.
Well, yeah, they haven't. We don't know, but I would assume it's not Luis Ortiz making a bet under his own name.
I'm pretty sure that they would have already said that he is under investigation for betting. They did this for the other guys for betting on whatever.
Yeah, Tucupita Marcano.
Yeah,
banned for life.
They didn't say he's under suspicion. They said he's being investigated for gambling on baseball. And eventually, they said, boom, he bet on baseball. He's done.
He bet, or Tucupita bet nearly 400 times on baseball. But
remind me how they caught him. It was like pretty much it was easy to catch him.
I'm not sure how they caught him.
Pretty sure he was not as smart.
And I hate that the Padres are always going to be linked because it always says lifetime ban against San Diego Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano. He was on the team for like 2 days.
He wasn't even on the team when he got in trouble. Wasn't he with the Pirates?
I think he was with the Pirates. But what I'm saying is,
or did he come back?
He did come back.
might have been with us.
No, he definitely was on the team when it
right.
happened, but like the bets may have been made while he was with the Pirates.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that Luis Ortiz has full and total control over whether or not to throw a ball. And
so does every pitcher.
But someone could be like, they're not going to catch this. Why would they ever catch this? This is so arbitrary and random.
I agree with that. I'm not saying that he didn't do it. I'm just saying, let's let the situation play out.
Spencer says this station takes money from like 6 gambling sites.
So
what? Like,
what's your point?
I don't understand. Like, we're not complaining about betting right now. We're talking about a situation that could be found to be something happening where a player is manipulating the game so that they can win a bet. That's what we're talking about here. It's not about betting itself. I just think that I'm fascinated by this.
Yeah.
Because the first pitch that he threw on January 15th or whatever wasn't even close. And here's my crazy brain, and this is not proven or anywhere. But someone said, "Hey, man, you got to make it look a little bit better than that."
So then the
second pitch, he throws it. It's closer to the zone. It's just below the zone. It could be conceived as a bad pitch. First pitch looks like something's up. Now that we're being presented with all this information, the first pitch looks like there's something up.
Listen,
I don't want this guy to go down for this.
I'm not saying that there isn't something up on the first pitch or the second pitch. I'm just saying, let's let it play out.
Brandon says it could be a true fan that knows the scouting reports of the batters that Ortiz was facing.
Could be. He could be a Guardian fan.
And he knows that in the bottom of the third inning, he's going to throw a ball to start the inning, and he puts 50 grand on it. To
me, I'd see this whole time that first one you're talking about, that wasn't in the very first inning. It was in the third.
It was. These happened in the second and third inning.
So this makes it. Now, if it had been the first pitch of the first game and he threw one like that, I would feel differently.
Okay.
But it's the second inning. It's the third inning. Nah, man, I'm not sold yet. I'm not saying he didn't do it, but I want to wait to see what happens.
All I know, if this was Shohei Ohtani, we would be talking about how great he was for throwing that pitch into the ground.
Here we go.
It would totally be that. You know that, too.
No, I don't
you know that.
I don't know that. Let's get to break. More Gwynn and Chris on the other side. No traffic?
No traffic now. We'll get you later.
Want to golf with celebrities and sports legends?
We have been accused. I've been accused in my DMs.
This is silly. You know what I'm saying? We don't. The station does what the station does. This is how this whole thing works, right? People, betting companies. It's not just station. It's MLB. It's NBA. It's everybody.
Those are the organizations you should be mad at.
Supposed to quit because the station decided that this was in their best interest. Get out of here,
man! If I could quit and. Yeah, I would never find another job in sports again because betting is everywhere.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. But trust me, we don't want these betting stories to happen. We would much rather talk about.
Matter of fact, we predicted that they
stories.
Would be happening. I didn't even say we predicted. It wasn't that hard to tell that this was going to eventually be something that all the sports were dealing with, that accepted it. You didn't have these things popping up, outside of Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe. Right, it wasn't popping up, but now that it's legal, I expect to keep hearing these type of deals happen.
Me too. I mean,
now whether Luis L. Ortiz, I say
why
Luis
do you
L.
Why?
Because I remember when the Padres played the Guardians, like what, 4th or 5th game of the season, second series of the year.
Yeah, and they swept him.
He pitched one of those games. He gave up 7, I believe, and I remember his was like. When like the game ends, it usually puts the last name.
Yeah,
it was like Ortiz L.
Okay,
and then so I looked, it was like Luis L. Ortiz. So that's why.
Well, he is under investigation. If he broke any rules, then that's his problem. So he's gonna have to deal with that. Home Run Derby starting to get some participants.
Why are you talking like that? Home Run Derby is getting ready to.
Well, I need to get into my radio host voice. It's a Home Run Derby, Tony, up in Atlanta. We have some more. Now I don't even know how to talk. We have Cal Raleigh has entered the Home Run Derby.
James Wood
has entered the Home Run Derby. We already knew that Ronald Acuna Jr. would be entering the Home Run Derby. Ohtani said that he will not be doing the Home Run Derby, which, come on, bro. This is like LeBron not doing the dunk competition.
Did he do it last year?
Ohtani? He's never done it, I don't believe. Or
I think it might mess up his swing.
So wait, that's the excuse all the time, and I thought you said it doesn't mess up their swing.
I never said that.
All right.
For some guys, it does. It mentally definitely does. For some guys, it doesn't matter.
Something tells me he would be fine if he did the Home Run Derby.
He might just be like, I want some time. I don't want to do that.
I guess that's true too. But he is an all-star. He's a starting all-star, so he's going to be there anyway.
We haven't talked about Manny yet going in as an all-star starter. At least I haven't got a chance to talk about it yet.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I mean, pretty legit.
That is.
I don't think it should have even came down to being as close as it seemed like it was.
Him and Max Muncy.
Yeah, but yeah.
What does that mean what does that really mean to a player? Starting an all-star
I think it's an honor. I think especially as you start getting to the age that Manny is, you understand the importance of it. But it is, you don't get the break. You don't get to rest. That's for his day. His all-star break is basically toast.
Yeah, because he has to go to Atlanta.
Yeah, he's gonna go to Atlanta. So fortunately, we're home for a good amount of time before the break. So
from tomorrow until
three team homestand, which is super rare.
10 games.
It's our first 10 gamer at home. I think we got one more maybe later on this year. It might be 9 next time, but he'll fly from here after the game on Sunday, head to Atlanta. He'll have to be there for, all the festivities, the red carpet and derby and all that stuff.
Do you think he flies home after the game on Tuesday and then flies back to Washington? Because that's where you guys are starting.
I would. He might. He's got PJ.
He got
you know what I'm saying? He got a PJ. So
does he? Or
I don't know if he still has a
Padres?
place in Florida. If he does, I mean, that would make sense just to slide that way. But if he doesn't, he's got the PJ. Get him back here in decent time. But then he's gonna get right back on the plane and go to Washington. Go back to Washington. I don't know that I would want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to do. That's a lot. You guys just did the flight across the country.
Yeah, and
I tracked your flight this morning just to see what time you guys got in, and it was 5 hours and 14 minutes.
It was supposed to be 5:05 too.
Oh, so 9 minutes late.
That wind was keeping us, slowing us down, man.
The Pineapple Express, I think they call it when you're coming back from Hawaii. Is anybody else going to make the team? Nick Pivetta might have a good chance to make the
They
team.
might have a shot. They got some bullpen guys that got a shot.
That's true. Robert Suarez still has one of the most
Adam
saves.
has still got good numbers.
Let's talk about Suarez real quick.
Okay.
I am not going to say the fans are calling for a new closer, but is there a point where a manager, and let's take Suarez out of it. Is there a point where a manager has to give them a break from the closing spot if they're struggling a little bit and maybe flip them? Jason Adam goes into the 9th and becomes the closer for a couple games, and Robert Suarez goes to the 8th.
I mean, no, that usually doesn't happen unless a guy is like really, really struggling. I mean, do you want to create turmoil for yourself and your team? If let's say you do that, take him out for a few games, 4 or 5 games, and whoever you insert in there goes 5 of 5, and it looks like clean. You don't think you're creating your own?
You are, but you're winning games now.
You weren't winning games before.
You were, but I mean, Robert Suarez.
It's only until the 5 of 5 person, ex-person who's 5 of 5, blows 2 saves, and then what?
Then you go back to the drawing board.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, how do it's if you don't know the role, how are you? You can't get comfortable in it. It's just like a revolving door. If that's the case, let's just try a different closer every time.
I gotta think that Mike Schilt, even though he'll never say it and he'll never outwardly look like it, when Robert Suarez starts throwing the high fastball, can't get the ball in the zone, he's gotta be like,
I think
not again.
I think he literally does that with every pitcher that can't find the zone. When
Okay.
Dylan is cruising through 3 and then all of a sudden gets into the stretch and can't find the zone, I'm sure he's like, damn, wish he could throw some strikes right now.
You don't think he's like hoping for a couple balls
No,
there?
I just don't. I think he thinks that all the time, or at least when a pitcher's struggling. But I think he also, I think you kind of hit it. He also has the ultimate faith.
He does
in his guys. So.
Oh, he totally does, and he should, because he's their manager, and you play better when your manager believes in you. We'll talk more about Kershaw and his 3,000 strikeouts in the Big Five, but he did it last night.
Yeah, man.
And he did it in the 6th inning. He's not pitching bad this year either. So 3,000 Ks. How long did you spend with Kershaw? Like
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And you say he's a good guy.
He's a great guy. I love Kersh. And he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
One of 4 lefties to do it in the history of the game.
They're all in there.
CeCe's
going in this year.
Steve Carlton.
Can't remember who the other one
Randy
was.
Johnson.
Yeah. All of them in there.
I mean, so the question that everybody is asking now is, who's going to be the next 3,000 K guy?
Good luck.
Because we'll go through some of the list in the Big Five, and I'm not really that great at I'm not really great at explaining it, but I can't, as much as I want to be like, he's a Dodger, I can't respect this. I have to respect this.
If you're a baseball fan, you respect it.
Yeah, you do.
Even if you're a Padre fan, you respect it. You might not, it's not like your number one topic to bring up and talk about.
Like Dave Roberts in the dugout going, yeah, really bothered me a little bit.
I'm sure that bothers a lot of people.
He's like, yeah. Is a 3,000 strikeout. Now it ended the inning, so the game was over. Like when Manny
game was over?
Or I'm sorry, the inning was over. Yeah. So it wasn't like they had to stop in the middle of the game.
And got it on the last pitch of the game. That's crazy.
Now when Manny gets his 2,000th hit, because I believe he's at 1995, is that correct? It's
yes,
either 95.
He's got 95.
So 95. Are they stopping the game to honor him?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know how long that is. I can only go off of what I remember my dad, but this was in 1993.
Things were a little bit different.
Yeah, we weren't celebrating like we are now. But I think they'll stop the game. They should. It's 2000. It's a big deal, man.
He's been kind of cruising towards 2000 all season long.
Yeah.
And when he gets to 2000, do you think it's going to happen? It has to happen on this.
It's happened on this homestand. I feel confident
because these things always seem to happen on.
I
will
say this though. You start getting closer. I think inevitably, I saw it with my dad too. You start trying to make it happen, and he ended up having to do it in Montreal because he went 1 for, or I think it was like 1 for 2 for, and he needed 5 hits in St. Louis. He got 4, and so he was trying to press to get it done, and then he ended up.
Not even your dad could press to get his 3,000th hit.
Not how baseball works. Not how hitting works in particular.
It's not how hitting works in particular. No, it doesn't. Yeah. I just, you have to respect this, even if you
Manny
don't like
is
the Dodgers.
going to be, I got asked a good question today. I think it was a great question, actually. It stumped me. I was on with Baltimore, and they asked me if Manny ends up getting to 3,500, is he the greatest Padre ever? I had to sit back. I was like, man, from a number standpoint, it would be more than my dad did.
That would be, I mean, if there's anyone to.
However, I did say it's hard to replicate a guy being a city watching a guy grow up and old all within within the city confines.
It's crazy to believe that Manny's been with the Padres longer than or at least.
I mean, the fact that we're having a conversation of 3,000, like he's gonna get to 2,000 here soon. How fast can he get another 1,000 hits? We're thinking what, like,
I mean, 200 hits a year.
He would he's never had 200 hits.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a lot of hits a year.
So we're talking like what, like 175.
Is he the guy who's going to be? I mean, if any, he could play deep into his career. I can
see Manny playing deep
to get that 3,000.
I could see him playing long.
I mean, if he becomes a DH only at some point in his career, he's 30 years old, right? Or is he 31?
I think he's old. I think he's 32.
Oh, well, then I'm way off. And then he's an old man. I didn't realize how old he was. He is 32. July 6th, he'll be 33 here in 3 days.
Right.
I'm way off on that one. Anyway, Manny's going to do it during this homestand.
He's doing it during homestand.
Which game do you think? Let's make a bet.
Who we have first?
Rangers, D-backs, Phillies.
He's either going to do it the last game against the Rangers or the first game against the D-backs.
I was going to say that Monday against the D-backs as well.
I'm saying Sunday or Monday.
Sunday or Monday. I'm going to say Monday. We almost lost the light over there.
Oh.
When we get back, though, 30-mile zone. We got some sports celebrity topics to talk about.
We lost the light.
We lost the light again. And we'll do that when we get back here at 97.3 The Fan.
7 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby having a good old laugh about Dave Marks in the break.
You know, Dave has been traveling for almost 30 years now.
He has. And at the end of the year, guys, I'm going to share for you a list I've compiled. I won't tell you what the list is, but I think we'll all find it funny at the end of this season. It'll just be better that way.
got a preview of the list, and it's amazing. I mean, if anybody listened to Get to Know Dave, I think everybody kind of understands Dave's personality a little bit. But Dave's been traveling so much, he's like over it. And
He is. He's definitely over it. He's definitely over it. He yeah, man, he's
How has he been this year?
he's been great.
Just cracking the whip all the time?
He definitely has been a little bit more what's a good word for this?
Producery?
Producery works.
Okay. Like he's been more of like you guys have to do this type of thing.
Yeah, kind of.
'Cause-
He's been really lording over us at a much higher capacity this year.
One of my favorite things about you and Jesse is when you make fun of Dave on the air because he can't respond.
He can't say nothing.
he can't say anything. He can't
Sorry,
say
you don't have a mic,
anything.
buddy.
Oh my, yeah, that is hilarious. Dave Marcus, if you,
I tell you what, though, Dave is a quirky individual, but some of his quirkiness is rubbed off on me.
Really?
I'll give you a good example. So I did TV, the previous series I did TV. You know, when I do radio and I have to do the reads, we make fun of him for his cut job on the papers, that the half sheets of paper he sends
I have
us.
something for you after this.
Okay. He puts them on this bright orange paper with black ink.
I've seen.
And I didn't realize it until I had to do a read on the TV side, and it's on white paper. How much easier it is to read the orange. Like I was like stumbling all over the place on like regular white paper, but the orange paper, man, I killed that. Like I could see it. It's easy to read.
That is
On the
weird.
TV side, it's like, you know, it's like regular small written paper. Like I'd take for granted some of the quirkiness things that he has actually made my life easier on. Like the reads, like I see them, they're big, and the lettering's big.
So this is going to take away what I'm about to say then, because you like the cards now.
I do. I didn't know that I liked the cards until I read a regular one.
I can't remember which game I was listening to some random radio broadcast of a game recently, and they were talking all about how their producer has switched things into a digital format where they have an iPad sitting in front
That
of them.
might have been us talking about.
No, it wasn't you guys. I know that. But I know that you guys have talked in the past about
Yes.
trying to get some digital
Yes.
offering for you.
I can't remember. I think it might have been Dwayne at Dodgers. He has a digital thing that has each setting in the name of the broadcast. You just hit the button, boom.
Whoa.
Crazy, right?
Would Dave Marcus ever get used to that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Dave, I can just imagine Dave being like, I'm never going to use a computer. I can hand him the sheets.
He's very much set in his ways.
Yes, he is. Let's explain what's going to happen here for the rest of the show. Tony has a dinner on the Diamond
do.
tonight, and so you are going to be taking off. But we did record some stuff earlier before the show just to make sure everybody got their fix in. And right coming up after traffic, we're going to have a 30-mile zone. So that's what we'll do in just a second. But what do you do at this dinner on the Diamond?
Talk.
You just go mingle?
I mingle at my table.
Oh, okay.
You know, they set us up.
Who's at your table?
I don't know. I find out when I get there.
Who?
I mean, my wife. I know my wife is at the table.
Who have you sat with in the past?
Different people that you know, do different things around San Diego. You know, some charities, some, you know, just people who donate their money for the cause. You know, different things. It's not. I don't think I've sat with anybody that's like you would know.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, you're not sitting with Wandy Peralta.
No, the players are at their, you know, that's kind of how they do it. Like you're sitting at a table with such and such, you know,
because you paid for it, right? The people,
so.
the auction.
Those tables, I don't think you just get to walk in
and who's the musical guest?
Table? T.I. is the musical guest tonight.
Rubber Band Man.
Rubber Band. The Rubber Band. Go ahead, Skraby.
I mean, I remember T.I. He was great. He was in American Gangsta.
We had, I think it was Ja Rule and Ashanti a couple years ago. Luda was last year.
That is amazing.
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right.
T.I. this year.
All right, well, have fun, Tony. You'll be on the call tomorrow.
I will be.
July 4th, back on the radio.
Back on the radio.
And
with my
everybody
guy, Jesse
can calm
Agler.
down.
Yes.
Calm down,
it's all good,
everybody.
man. It's all love.
All right, we're going to go to traffic, then 30-mile zone on the other side.
From the 855
Battle Bridge, couple vehicles blocking the fast lane, and getting reports of a crash on northbound 163 near Friars Road. 2 cars involved. They're over to the right shoulder. San Diego summers mean beach days, road trips, ball games. Make sure your ride's ready with Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Drive in, stay in your car, and be done in about 15 minutes. No appointment needed. For coupons, visit SoCalOilChange.com. And Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
If you don't know your sports gossip, can you really call yourself a sports fan? It's time to bring together sports and celebrity gossip. We call it the 30-mile zone, mainly so we don't get sued by the real company. On 97.3 The Fan.
So this segment is all about sports gossip, one of my favorite segments that we do on the show, and we got some good stuff for you today. Although we do have to start with a very, very sad story. Tony, you're going to have to help me with this name. Soccer star Diogo Jota. He was in a car crash earlier, and he is dead at the age of 28 years old. I think
him and his brother passed away in a car accident.
Yeah, very, very sad. So I just wanted to mention that because I know people are soccer fans, but 28 is just way too young for anyone to be losing their life. But he had just married less than 2 weeks ago, Tony, and they shared 3 children together. So very sad, but that is what's happening over in Europe. All right, let's go to this one now, and it's going to be, there's no real way to switch from that, but you know the woman who does halftime shows, Tony, and she like rides the unicycle and does the
yes, Houston is usually, they usually have her. Yes.
Well, she was at a Minnesota Lynx game, and she fell off the unicycle and severely fractured her wrist.
Ooh.
There's video of it, obviously. You could find it, but she was doing it Tuesday at the WNBA Commissioner's Cup, and I guess a faulty unicycle pedal was the reason that she fell, and she fell from the top of the unicycle, went down, broke her wrist there, and it was pretty bad. But her nickname, Red Panda, apparently. Wrong New is her name. And she's going to be out of a little bit.
I bet. That's a long fall.
That's a long fall. It's like 10-foot unicycle. I mean,
no wrist is surviving that fall.
Who's packaging that unicycle? Come on.
I mean, it's worked for a long time, and she didn't have this issue. So, I mean, clearly this one is definitely faulty.
Definitely faulty. In China right now, Tony, they have put together the first autonomous soccer game. And what that means is they put a bunch of robots on a field to play soccer, and they're all driven by AI. And it is as bad as you think it would. I showed Tony a clip of this a little bit earlier, and it's really boring, isn't it, Tony?
It reminds me, ladies and gentlemen, for the boys out there, you remember, who are about my age, do you remember the football aluminum machine that you used to turn on and it would vibrate and you put the little pieces on there?
Yes.
That's what this reminds. It's like a AI, a human version of that, but AI.
These robots are just like walking around.
These were like mini. Those pieces we played with were mini. These are like our size, doing the same thing.
I keep wanting to call it Rock'em Sock'em, but that's not what it is.
I can't remember what
it's
the
like
name of the
electric football or something.
It might have been electric football.
There's about a million people out there screaming.
I still remember when I opened that for Christmas. It was like the best gift ever. until I started to play with it, and the guys weren't moving the way I wanted them to move.
Okay. I mean that game was all about just wherever they went, right? Like there was no skill to it.
There's no skill at all.
I guarantee you lots of people lost money on that game back in the day. But if you're curious about this, just type in Chinese robot soccer match, because that's what I did, and you can see this video. It is bad. These robots are not ready for the prime time. The next thing, Tony, are you a Madden guy still?
I want to say that I am, but I'm not.
Okay, I'm not either. Well, I bought the game 2 years ago.
Bought it 2 years ago as well.
And it didn't have a great franchise mode. And they took away franchise mode for a few years. And so people were very angry. They've been asking for franchise mode back because that's what a lot of people play.
That's how I got my start.
Franchise mode is going to be back in Madden 26. but it's going to get a complete overhaul.
Uh-oh.
Like, it's going to be intense. Like, you have to choose coordinators when you...
Oh, you've always had to do that, though.
Yeah, but they're going to make a difference now. Like, if you
If your
choose a bad
coordinator is
coordinator,
terrible-
you're going to have bad offense.
Oh, okay. So you're okay. I see
Yeah,
what they're
and
doing.
when you start...
It used to didn't really matter. It just
No,
opened
it's
up the
arbitrary.
playbook a little bit for you.
I always used to go to the most expensive guy and just buy him real quick. But the other thing in the Madden 26 franchise mode that people are talking about is the differences in some of the games throughout the year. So they have now, Tony, 3 separate announcer crews doing Madden 26. So they have Thursday Night Football crew. They have a Monday night
In the game?
in the game.
That's dope.
So when you're going through franchise mode and you're playing
On
in
a Thursday
in a
night,
primetime game,
you
you will get new
I
announcers
like that.
to
I
kind
li-
of feel like
I
you're
like
a part
that
of
a
it.
lot.
I do too.
That's big time.
That is big time. But Madden is going to be coming out here very, very soon. Now, the other thing that they are talking about is a lot of people are unhappy with the online play, which is something that I have been unhappy with, but they're going to try and fix it, apparently. I'm not sure exactly what was wrong with the online play other than that little kids just yell at me while I'm playing. I mean, have you ever done the online play in Madden, Tony?
I don't do online.
Okay, well, I did, and it was just this like 12-year-old that I couldn't figure out how to turn him off. He was like, ha 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 ha,
Yeah.
sacked.
There's too
sacked.
much. There's too much of that going on.
Yeah, so hopefully they can fix the online play. But there you go about the Madden. Magic Johnson put out. I don't know if he put it out, but there is. He's renting a yacht that's $6 million per month. And here he is on his yacht, Tony. He is doing
Is he
the
renting it
treadmill.
out for a month?
I don't know what he's doing, but he's on vacation, and he has one of the biggest and best yachts you have ever seen.
To be fair, he does this. Him and his wife go on this trip every year,
Okay.
and I think I've seen him on a yacht. I don't know if it's this particular yacht, but he do this. I think as a part of either her birthday or anniversary. One of the two that they.
He said it just says
Or it's
vacation.
or it's a vacation. But I've seen he goes. You get these pictures every year if you're following him on Instagram, you can see the kind of digs they got.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is 100%
I mean, he's
amazing.
He's not lacking in finances here. I mean,
No.
he's doing all right.
He's
for
doing
himself.
okay.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because the video shows him just on a treadmill in the
Running.
middle of like a 150-foot yacht in the middle of like Italy or
Got to
something.
get that work in.
All right, tomorrow, Nathan's hot dog eating contest. And Joey Chestnut is back in it. He was allowed back in after not being allowed to compete last year. Patrick Bertoletti, though, is going to be challenging him because last year he ate 58 hot dogs and he wants to eat 60 this year. He thinks, and his TMZ, oh my gosh, Tony, TMZ Sports wrote this. With the champ telling TMZ Sports he hopes to eclipse 60 tube steaks this July 4th. Never heard of a hot dog called a tube steak before.
This just sounds terrible.
It does, but do you think he can eat 60 hot dogs? He ate 58 last year.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody
you can.
going to be able to take down Joey Chestnut though?
No.
The answer, you're right,
I
is
don't
no.
know who wants to, but clearly people do.
It's the
This I don't want to keep talking about
okay,
it.
sorry.
The dipping the hot dog in the water.
That's what I was
I
about
can't
to
do
say.
it, man.
That's what I was about to say. All right. That's it for today's 30-mile zone. I'm trying to look and see if there's anything else fun out there before we get going, but no, not really. Tom Brady has a girlfriend, apparently, if you care about
Good
that.
for Tom. Don't care.
PETA was planning on protesting the Nathan's hot dog contest.
Is there any real animals being hurt in that? I mean,
No. We don't really know what a hot dog
that's
is.
my point. That's
so
what I'm
we're
getting
not
at.
sure. We're not sure. Anyway, that's it. All right. There's a PETA mascot, by the way, Tommy Tofu. I don't think anybody
Shout out to PETA.
I don't think anybody needed that right
No.
there. Nobody needed that. All right, that's it for the 30-mile zone. When we get back, we are going to update you on today's, or I'm going to update you on today's news here on 97.3 The Fan.
ready to go.
Well, it's actually just me, Matt Skraby, here with you for the rest of the show. We got some good stuff that Tony and I did for later in the show. We're also going to hear again from Sammy Lev, who was on with us earlier on his day off. I really appreciate him doing that after having a doubleheader yesterday and then having to host on Tuesday after the game was postponed. So Sammy Lev, one of the hardest working guys in the building. And I just walked around the building. I'm literally the only one here. It's very weird to be the only one in a radio station because usually there are a ton of people that are moving around in a radio station, but I did a lap and saw no one. So it is just me and all of you out there. This hour 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Staples. Now, we have lots to talk about here as we're updating the news from the day. And one of those things would be Guardians pitcher Luis Ortiz is under investigation over alleged gambling. And we talked about this a little bit earlier at 3 p.m., but basically 2 bets were flagged by an independent service, and it was flagged because 2 pitches received out of character or out of the norm bets. And so one of the pitches, the bet was this: top of the 3rd inning, first pitch is either a ball or a hit batsman. And so if you look, Luis Ortiz, top of the 3rd inning on that day that the bet was made for that game, he throws a ball, and it's really bad. It's like all the way to the backstop. It's a pass, or it's a wild pitch. And then a couple weeks later, he has another one where there was another bet made, top of the 2nd or whatever. I might be getting the innings transposed, but he, again, throws a ball. So he's on paid leave, but he's under investigation. And this could be really something that could end his career for sure if he's found to be betting and, manipulating the game. But this does not surprise me at all because people are always trying to figure out a way to fix the system or not fix the system, but manipulate the system. And so again, I'm not saying this happened, but the playbook for this would be a bettor out there gets to Luis Ortiz and they come up with a way to make sure that he doesn't, get any attention for what he's doing. But at the same time, they could both make money. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's what Luis Ortiz did. We're going to be learning a lot more as we go on. But betting is, and I wanted to say this because we were getting a little pushback earlier about us having a betting segment on the show and in our company accepting money from different sports betting websites. But I have always said this, and I have been 100% clear that you can bet. People are allowed to bet. And if it's legal in your state, I have no issues with people being allowed to bet. I have issues with the betting services and the sports betting companies. I have issues with them preying on people who might be down in their luck and they're just trying to win their money back. There are certain ways that these sports betting companies prey on people where they see someone who's betting hundreds of dollars, hundreds or if not thousands of dollars, and then they know that they're an active bettor, so they're going to send them an email and say, hey, because you spent so much money with us, we're going to get you $500 free to keep betting. Well, what happens is that $500 free is not actually real money. It's just basically game credit or tokens for an arcade, and you end up not being able to withdraw that money as cash. And then once you run out of that money, then you put your own money in there, and so that's their way of getting you. And those are sent to certain users. And I've even read stories about certain users just continually getting these emails of free cash and not really paying attention to the consequence of taking the free cash. So I'm not saying that betting is wrong. I personally don't do much sports betting at all, but I do have daily fantasy FanDuel. There's another one called Better, Underdog. And I was just reading in the break that the Attorney General of California said that those types of betting services are illegal in California because you're not allowed to bet here. So it's not going to change the law or anything like that. But his opinion saying that these daily fantasy betting services they do not fall under the legality of California sports betting. So that might be something that we have to look into as we go forward. I don't I don't know what the difference, honestly, for me, I don't know what the difference between daily fantasy and then betting on a spread is. I know the difference, but it's still betting to me. But I do those things. Like on Sundays during the NFL season, I would go on these daily fantasy apps, FanDuel. I'll set my lineup and I'll enter the contest for $5, $10 or something like that. And then I'll have fun throughout the day checking in on the results and everything. But that's where I stop, is I spend my $5 or $10. And if I don't win any money, I'm not like putting more money in. I'm not trying to double up my bets, all that stuff. Like, but that's what some people are doing, and it's going to get them into trouble. But I am really, really fascinated to see what happens with Luis Ortiz. Now, again, I don't know if he's doing anything wrong. I don't know if it was just a coincidence that all this happened. I'm doubting it's a coincidence, but we'll see what happens. Tucupita Marcano made over 400 bets on baseball and was banned for life. So, they take this very seriously. And if Luis Ortiz is found, again, I'm saying if Luis Ortiz is found as being guilty of manipulating the game in order to win a bet, you better believe that Major League Baseball is going to come down on him hard, and they're going to make an example out of him. Tucupita Marcano, they made an example out of him by banning him for life, but no one really knows Tucupita Marcano because he wasn't really a player that was at the Major League level for a long time. Luis Ortiz, people, know who Luis Ortiz is. He is a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, so he is a guy that they could make an example out of, like, hey, you even want to think about fixing a bet or manipulating the game, this is what's going to happen to you. But I'm going to really keep an eye on this going forward because it is pretty fascinating to me. I would say, I don't know if it fascinates anyone else out there, but I definitely find this to be like the blueprint for what's going to happen going forward. I mean, betting has been around for so long anyway, so it's not like, I know that we say these things are going to rise because there's more instances of betting nowadays, but I can't say that now because we are allowed to bet so freely that this is why players are going to be doing this more and more. Players are probably doing this anyway, and some of them are probably a lot smarter than others in how they're hiding things. But manipulating a game is kind of crazy. If Luis Ortiz did throw these balls and they were called balls and that was part of the bet, that's crazy to me. That's like shoeless Joe Jackson crazy to me, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Padres off day today. They are going to be back at it tomorrow against the Rangers. And we talked about the Padres approach earlier today and how in game 1 of the doubleheader yesterday, they drew 9 walks, they scored 6 runs, and they got the 5 runs in the second inning when Manny was able to clear the bases with a double. I do and I don't understand how they're able to go from that performance in the same day and go to the next game and completely go away from that strategy. Now, I know that Abel was the pitcher for the Phillies in the first game. He was not throwing strikes. He was not even close to the zone. So it was very easy for these guys to just let him throw balls and then walk. And so I will take 2 runs off of walking in guys. That's fine. The Padres need runs in any way possible. That's fine. But I can understand a little bit how when they go into the second game, they're facing Christopher Sanchez, who is very good. He's a lefty, and he was very good yesterday. He's been great all year. So he's not throwing balls. And when you get into a point where you're like trying to work the count, you're trying to drive the pitch count up, it's not going to work against Christopher Sanchez because he's throwing a bunch of strikes. He threw 85 pitches yesterday, 60 for strikes. And so you're not able to kind of sit back a little bit like they were in game 1 with Abel and take the walks. Because by the time you sit back, you might be down 0-2 or 1-2 or something like that. But Christopher Sanchez was so good yesterday, they had to be swinging early and often. And they did take the lead in the first, not in the first inning, but they took the lead first when Jackson drove in Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill. That was a good thing to see because we were all kind of thinking, hey, are they ever going to hit with runners in scoring position again? Are they ever going to? Doesn't seem like they're going to. But yesterday they were able to do that, and then we all know what happened next. It just didn't end well for them. They lost 5-1. But when the Padres are at their best, and I've said this on the Skraby show a million times, it's line drives and it's keeping the line moving. It's taking what is given to you. And Mike Shildt said that. He said that yesterday after the game. He said that they need to be taking what is given to them, and they need to be using that, because sometimes you press a little bit and you're swinging at pitches you shouldn't swing at. But Mike Shildt knows that this is a problem for them, and Mike Shildt knows that they're going to have to talk more. They're going to have to talk more strategy, because what they're doing right now is not working on a consistent basis, and that's the problem. They can go from the first game of the doubleheader, look great at the plate, draw 9 walks, into facing a good pitcher and not being able to do much of anything at all, which does happen. It does happen. But Mike Shildt, here's his quote from after the game about how important it is to let the game come to them. He said, if we do that, this team is going to be virtually unstoppable. It really is. We were very stingy. Weren't going to give them anything that wasn't on the plate. Amazing job. If we're stingy like that, there's no absolute in this game. But if you do that with the talent we have in the zone, then we're going to be a very dangerous team. We've done it. Listen, the game can be challenging when guys are painting on both sides of the plate and they're a little bit off of it. Hitters can tend to expand, but we got back to being stubborn today. That was after the first game. Second game, exactly what he was saying. The game can be challenging when guys are painting both sides of the plate and they're a little bit off of it. Like that tells me that that's their whole offense right now in a nutshell. If they're able to expand the zone a little bit, and if they're able to not swing at close pitches, and hopefully, not the close strike pitches, but the balls, they're going to be a dangerous team, because they can hit for power when they get a pitch that they like. And it's been frustrating. Like, as a guy who didn't play college baseball or pro baseball or anything like that, it's hard for me to understand how it goes so poorly from one game to the next. But they were really good in one game, they were not so good in the next game. But it's all about how they're approaching it. And yesterday in the second game, they didn't have much of a chance against Christopher Sanchez. He was going to be that good anyway. So they had to go away from their game. And look what happened. They ended up losing. And they ended up losing convincingly, even though Dylan Cease pitched an okay game. Like, Dylan Cease, I don't know what it is about Dylan Cease, but he's just not able to get through that lineup the second time without giving up a bunch of runs. And it's very un-Dylan Cease-like. Very weird that the pitching whisperer, I'm sure that they've been talking about this and going through it, but the pitching whisperer hasn't been able to figure it out either. So hopefully they're able to figure it out before the end of the season for sure, because Dylan Cease is really good first time through, really bad second time through, and really, really good third time through. It's just very strange to see those splits. All right, I'm Matt Skraby. This is Gwynn and Chris, 97.3 The Fan. Tony Gwynn Jr. off, dinner on the diamond, and Chris Ello has the day off. If you love Mediterranean food, try Spiro's for authentic Mediterranean cuisine in Coronado or La Jolla. For dining or takeout options, visit spiroscuisine.com. Now, when we get back, we're going to keep talking about the Padres' approach, but Jackson Merrill said something yesterday that proves to me he is going to be a good big leaguer for many, many years ahead. I will tell you what he said next on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 855, get Ross traffic.
Chris, hello. Yeah, we're here in Cooperstown for 97.3 The Fan. So excited, the induction weekend for the great Trevor Hoffman. What a class he's going in with, too. Let's take a look. Of course, Alan Trammell from Kearney High School in San Diego. And then, of course, the Detroit Tigers' great shortstop, Jack Morris, in a Tiger uniform there, but I always remember him pitching that 1-0 shutout in Game 7 of the 1991 World Series for the Minnesota Twins. Maybe the greatest postseason pitching performance of all time. Chipper Jones, Padre fans remember him. Every fan of a National League team remembers him because he would come in and do damage to that team. Only the second #1 overall pick in the Major League Draft, Chipper Jones, to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The other is Ken Griffey Jr. Vladimir Guerrero, never met a pitch he couldn't swing at, and powerhouse hitter for the Expos, and then, of course, the Angels at the end of his career. Jim Thome, over 600 home runs, mostly with the Cleveland Indians. And then, oh, yeah, the guy down here on the end who used to get all these guys out all the time, Trevor Hoffman, the greatest Padre reliever of them all. Two of the greatest outfielders in the history of baseball. Of course, you've got Babe Ruth right here. Ted Williams right over there. I was wondering who the third outfielder would be, and then, of course, it hit me. Tony would be upset if I didn't say that the third outfielder, who will someday probably be displayed right here between these two guys, is obviously Mike Trout. And this is the San Diego Padres locker room here in Cooperstown. Obviously, a couple of jerseys there and hats, gloves, all-star stuff. I think the most interesting thing in this entire display, though, especially this weekend, is a picture in the top corner of Angus Young. He's the guitarist for AC/DC, wearing a Trevor Hoffman uniform, obviously playing Hell's Bells. I know that Trevor went to many AC/DC concerts and was honored by sitting in the front row to watch AC/DC play Hell's Bells in his honor. But there's a picture of Angus Young playing Hell's Bells for Trevor Hoffman, wearing the 51 jersey right there. Chris, hello. Yeah, we're here in Cooperstown for 97.3 The Fan. So excited, the induction weekend for the great Trevor Hoffman. What a class he's going in with, too. Let's take a look. Of course, Alan Trammell from Kearney High School in San Diego. And then, of course, the Detroit Tigers' great shortstop, Jack Morris, in a Tiger uniform there, but I always remember him pitching that 1-0 shutout in Game 7 of the 1991 World Series for the Minnesota Twins. Maybe the greatest postseason pitching performance of all time.
I just found an article in the break that we're going to talk about before the end of the show because I had heard about the Diamondbacks fan who interfered with the Giants earlier this week, I believe it was, and he like reached over the fence. Well, the Diamondbacks fan has spoken out, and he has a wild opinion about this whole thing. A wild opinion about this whole thing. He even says that he followed in the footsteps of someone who really, really likes to go to ballparks around the country and steal baseballs from little kids. Now, he didn't say that last part, but he said that he like models himself after someone that I cannot believe anyone would model themselves after. I can't believe it. So we'll get into that a little bit later because it is insane that this fan feels that way. I can't even believe it, but that's how people are these days. That's how people are. All right. Before the break, I said that Jackson Merrill said something yesterday that makes me think he's going to be a good big leaguer for a very long time. And here's what he said. Just after, 1 year after having success his rookie season, he's made strides and he's also stepped back a little bit. And mostly I would say that he has stepped back a little bit in the hitting department because he started the season great, had that hamstring injury, and then things have been so ever since. Now his defense has gotten better this year. And he put in, it seems to me that he put in a ton of work in the offseason on his defense. And it shows. I mean, that catch the other night, I think it was oh man, why am I forgetting names today? I can't remember who it was. I know who it is too because he's on Chris's fantasy team. Kepler. He robbed Kepler of a home run. That was pretty awesome. He covers a lot of ground. Tony was saying that he takes better routes. So his defense is up to snuff and it's getting better. But here's where Jackson Merrill said something that makes me realize that he thinks differently than 22-year-old Major League Baseball players. Earlier in the year, he did say he was a hitter and not a walker, but now he knows he needs to change some things because he's been striking out a lot more than last year. And yesterday he said, quote, "I am a hitter, but pitchers will keep expanding and expanding and expanding if I keep chasing." So basically what he's saying is if he stops chasing so much on pitches outside of the zone, especially on the first pitch of plate appearances, he'll be a little bit better. He walked a career high 3 times yesterday's first game, and he's walked 13 times in 64 plate appearances since June 9th. He walked 8 times in his first 164 plate appearances this season through June 8th. So he is allowing the game to come to him a little bit more. And the reason this tells me that he's going to be a good big leaguer for a very long time is because he's willing to make changes. And he's willing to admit, hey, maybe my way of going about things is not working right now. And pitchers, we can all see it. There was a bat against Zach Wheeler on Monday night. And it was, hard in, then out, then in, then out, and Jackson struck out. And it's because the pitchers are now attacking places that they didn't last year, and Jackson is chasing some of those pitches. You see the high outside fastball that he chases, or the slider, which a lot of people chase, but he chases. So he realizes that if he does not swing at those pitches, then the pitchers are going to have to start throwing in the zone, which is where he can handle the ball. Now, again, I think this is a guy that's way beyond his years because he's able to make this adjustment on the fly. And that is proven in the fact that he's walked 13 times in 64 plate appearances since June 9th, when he only walked 8 times in his first 164 plate appearances from the start of the season through June 8th. And it sounds a lot easier for him to just come out and say this. Like, oh, yeah, I just need to stop swinging at the pitches that are out of the zone. But he's actually putting it into practice, which things will even out if he's able to do this. If he's able to show pitchers, hey, I'm not going to swing at stuff out of the zone, then pitchers are going to have to start coming into the zone, and then he can do some damage on those pitches. But until pitchers until he proves the pitchers that he will not swing out at balls outside the zone, then they're going to keep doing the same thing. And sometimes it's really weird for me to be, saying that Jackson Merrill has bad at bats because I've never been in a batter's box at the major league level, only little league and then a little bit after that. But we can all see the struggle at the plate for him. And then you can see him walking back to the dugout like, why did I swing at that pitch outside of the zone? And so if he's going to be able to turn this around, if he's going to be able to recognize things like this throughout his career, then I can't, the sky is the limit for this guy. And even though he's having a tough year so far, he still is making a difference, and he is going to be getting better. I mean, Padres just signed him to a big, long contract extension. So he's going to be here for a while. And this is something I like to see from Jackson Merrill, him saying this. Because in the past, there's been some guys in town that don't want to change their approach. There's been some guys in town that don't want to change how they play the game. But you got to. When someone is exploiting something about your swing or about your approach at the plate, then you have to change it, because they're never going to change things unless you prove to them that you won't fall for that anymore. I just love Jackson Merrill all the way around. Got his bobblehead in my house. I love everything about Jackson Merrill. Just the way that he plays the game, just the way that he answers things, the way that he thinks about things, and just how awesome he can be at times. I really want to see him get it going to the level that we saw last year. And again, if he does this, if he starts making the pitchers throw to him in the zone, then things are going to turn around, because he's a good enough baseball player that he's going to be able to do some damage on some of these pitches. But right now, he's making his strike zone really big, and he needs to shrink it a little bit. And that's what he's doing by not swinging at some of those closer pitches that are outside the zone, because he's making it so that they have to come to him. As what we talked about in the first segment, Mike Schultz says that the Padres need to let the game come to him. So Jackson Merrill is letting the game come to him, and he's seeing results. And walking 13 times in 64 plate appearances shows that, because he did not walk a lot last year. And to come into the season saying I'm a hitter, not a walker, and then kind of realize, hey, maybe I should walk a little bit until I'm getting pitches to hit, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So Jackson Merrill making the adjustments that need to be made, and hopefully it works out for him very, very soon. I'm Matt Skraby. This is Gwynn and Chris. I'm filling in for Tony and Chris. We have a holiday tomorrow, obviously, with July 4th. When we get back, though, we have the Big Five. And we talked about Clayton Kershaw. We talked about Jazz Chisholm Jr. And the Cleveland Browns are doing something that I think is so un-Cleveland-like. And I'll tell you about it in the Big Five when we get back on 97.3 The Fan. I actually got in trouble once when I worked at the bank for looking up a celebrity, and it was totally wrong on my part. Totally wrong.
Looking up their account number?
Just I searched their name in the account system, and
Skraby, what is wrong with you?
I was like 19.
You'd be better off.
Cool.
You'd be better off admitting that you wore your underwear inside out. Frankly,
This guy is just searching up people's accounts.
It only happened that one time because I got caught.
How did you get caught?
The account was flagged, and anybody taking a look at it gets logged. And so I got called into the boss's office like 3 days later.
What did that come? I'm sorry, I gotta ask, but nobody's supposed to be doing this preview. What did that conversation? How did it go?
Well,
why were you looking up Paris Hilton? Is that who it was?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh my goodness.
I can neither confirm. That's really funny, Chris, that you just yelled out that name out of all names.
No.
But I walked in, I got called into the office, and I sat down,
gosh.
and all my boss, I loved her. She was great. Her name was Sharon. Amazing boss. She just slid the piece of paper in front of me.
You knew.
Said, "Did you visit this account?" And I looked. Yeah. She was like, "We're gonna have to write you up for this, and if you do it again, we're gonna have to fire you." And I said, "I'll never do it again." And I got out of there as soon as possible. I took everything, but it was not good. Not good.
Just curiosity, huh? He's like, I wonder how much they have in their account.
Yeah. I mean, before I got caught, I did look up athletes. And,
oh my God! I'm so glad you're sitting in this seat now.
Yes, I'm so happy you're not doing any job that can be dangerous to people's futures.
This was in the first year that I was there. I learned my lesson thoroughly.
Chris, as I said, as soon as they walked in, they was like,
yeah,
that's our guy right there.
That's our window.
We're gonna take him down.
Yep.
Just lucky I didn't get caught for like. I can't even say. I'll tell you guys off break whose account I saw and how much money they had sitting in their checking account.
And this was how long ago, too, by the way?
2009, 10. Way before I became a good person.
Didn't Bank America end up getting in trouble? Or was that it was one of those banks got in trouble?
All of them get in trouble for selling information. But
I heard folks like you.
I wasn't selling any information. I was just wanting to see what was going on.
Curious.
I didn't check their account activity, which I could have. Been like, oh, they bought this here. I'm going to go up there. You know, I'm not that creepy.
Well, that's stock.
Oh, yeah, you're not that bad.
I'm not that creepy.
This is amazing, by the way.
We're supposed to be doing.
How are we supposed to do baseball picks under these circumstances?
We can't anymore. I think we gotta push it. You guys never did it. Well, I mean,
no, Skraby, we didn't.
Really? Okay. Like you work at a bank, you're looking at people's account information.
That's
unbelievable.
It only happened for a little bit, and then I got
only for a little bit.
I can't stop laughing at this because it is quite hilarious, Skraby.
But you were saying that I may have gotten robbed or whatever. I actually did get robbed when I worked in San Francisco, and they're called quick change artists.
How long did you work in the banking industry?
8 years. I was a teller supervisor when I finished. I was also the merchant teller, which took in around $150,000 in cash a day. Guess what? Always balanced at the end of the day.
Yeah, I bet.
But there was a guy who walked in. He had about $5,000 in hundreds, and he handed it to me. He said, "Can I get 50s for these?" And I said, you know, it's pretty annoying that he wants
$5,000 in hundreds,
and he wanted $5,000 in 50s. He just wanted 50s instead of hundreds. So I had to go get it from the vault. I come back. I'm starting to count it out, and then he's like starting to ask me questions as I'm counting it out.
He's trying to
what
did I tell you, Chris? This is what I'm talking about.
That window right there.
Hey, this guy was so good that no one saw it coming. But so when I started getting mad at him because I counted out the 50s, he goes, "What are you doing? I asked for 20s." And I'm like, "What? You did not ask for 20s. You asked for 50s, bro." Yeah. I had to go to the vault to get those 50s. And as I was getting all mad and talking to my boss, he took the cash off the counter and put it into this folder that he had on the thing that
the original 5,000 in hundreds.
Yeah, well, he kept going like that, and then I was so mad, I just grabbed it and I threw it in my drawer. And then he was like, "You know what? I'm out of here." And he walked out. And then at the end of the day, $3,000.
He got an extra 3 on you.
$3,000. Yeah, he got $3,000.
The thing about criminals like that, they can sniff out a mark really easy.
I'm not a mark.
You are 1,000%.
I was actually the bank's
dog. They got you for 3 extra.
And that's the only time in my 8 years that I ever had anything happen like that.
I'm sure there's people who've been there 8 years that never had 0 taken.
Scrape, I got a 20 here. Can I get 5 5s, please?
I hate you guys.
Let's get to
that was one of the worst moments of my life. But you know what? It taught me a lot. Never trust anyone ever again.
You know what? You definitely have learned because you don't trust very many people.
I don't trust anyone anymore.
You are.
I actually got in trouble once when I worked at the bank for looking up a celebrity, and it was totally wrong on my part. Totally wrong.
Looking up their account number?
Back there in the Odyssey Palace, 97.3 The Fan. Gwynn and Chris. Filling in for Gwynn and Chris, I'm Matt Skraby. Thank you for joining me. It definitely feels like a holiday out there, everybody. So if you're still working, I'm with you. I'm working right now. Doesn't seem like many people are working right now. I'm, again, the only person here at this radio station right now. I am all on my lonesome. So maybe I should go walk around and do little funny things, like leave little notes in people's notebooks or something like that. I had a friend, or not friend, well, a coworker. We haven't talked to him a very, very long time, but he was a New York Giants fan. And obviously I'm a 49ers fan. So this happened right after the NFC Championship where Eli Manning and Alex Smith battled it out. And the Giants ended up beating the 49ers. Well, one of the things that happened during the game that was one of the biggest mistakes in 49ers history was Kyle Williams let a punt go by, but it brushed his he was receiving a punt. He wanted to let it go by, but it brushed against his leg. Giants recovered it. It was a big deal. Big deal. So my friend or ex-coworker, used to just put the picture of Kyle Williams staring at the ball hitting him, and he used to put it in my notebook everywhere. So I still, like, if I'm going through old notebooks, which I for some reason do a lot, I guess I like to go down memory lane, but I found a picture of Kyle Williams in my notebook and him ruining the NFC Championship for the 49ers. But hey, whatever. It was a long time ago. I haven't forgotten it at all, everybody. I haven't forgotten it at all. If you missed it earlier, we talked to Sam Levit. We're going to hear from him again at 5:40. He joined us on his day off, which was very nice of him to do so. And we already talked about a little bit about Manny Machado being a all-star starter, but here is what the manager, Mike Schilt, said about Manny Machado after he was named the starting third baseman for the National League's all-star team.
What have you made of just how important he's been to you guys, given the steadiness and kind of the honor that he receives for what he's done?
Manny's an anchor of our organization, not just our team. Manny's one of the many, but right in the front and the face of the organization. And, when you have guys that are that, and then they go and back it up on the field, that's what the big boys do. And Manny's a big boy. And, it's very, very, very well deserved. And like I said, one of the best words I can use is just anchor. He's really the anchor of a lot of what we do here. And he's a steady presence, which is always welcome, not only in his way he goes about it, but clearly the play. The play speaks for itself. And, he showed up today with a big 3-run double. And, again, more defensive plays. But, Manny's just he's had a really nice year, and he's a big reason why we're in the spot we're in.
Yeah, I don't know where the Padres would be without Manny right now. There's a couple people we'll talk about at 5:00. I don't know where the Padres would be without, but the more I see Manny play, and the more he does for the Padres, the more I realize how much people are going to miss him when he's gone. And I'm talking about the haters, the ones that don't think that Manny deserves to be on this team or whatever it is. I think that he makes it very easy for us to forget about how difficult it is to find a guy who plays every single day and plays third base at a high level while being able to hit 300 and for a little bit of power. Like, I don't think that we understand what we really have. I mean, some people do. A lot of people do. A lot of fans understand that Manny Machado is great. But I think there are some out there that won't fully understand what Manny Machado meant to this team until Manny Machado is no longer with the team, until he retires and maybe going into the Hall of Fame. So we should appreciate Manny, and this is a huge honor for him. I mean, he's definitely had a good enough year to be the starting third baseman for the National League team. Max Muncy was the other guy up against him, and seriously, I'm not saying this about Max Muncy because I don't like Max Muncy, but he just didn't have as good of a year as Manny Machado did or has had so far. He's picked it up recently, and then he got hurt yesterday. Dodgers think that Max Muncy's knee is going to be okay. We'll see what happens with that, but there was no question in my mind that Manny Machado was going to be the starter for the National League at third base. All right, we have the Big Five now. And before we get into the Big Five, here is your traffic report.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danek.
This game day traffic report is brought to you by Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water. Making our way into a holiday weekend, a little busy on our roads. In fact, southbound 5 still clearing this accident past the Coronado Bridge, moving that out of the fast lane. Southbound 805 crashed before Imperial. That too is blocking the fast lane. Also getting reports of a possible encampment fire near Friars Road at the northbound 163. Some smoke visible in the area. Southbound 15 at the South 805 connector ramp. Crash over to the right shoulder. That westbound 8 still reeling from this earlier crash near Lake Jennings Park Road. You're backed up from Dunbar. Once you're past Lake Jennings, though, you should be in pretty good shape all the way into Mission Valley. What makes Crystal Geyser Alpine Spring Water different? They always bottle their Alpine Spring Water less than 1.5 miles from the spring source. And all of their bottles are made with 50% recycled plastic from their own recycling plants. Crystal Geyser, bottled at the spring source. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the heck?
Strikeouts. We have, as I just realized, I typed in Jax Chisholm Jr. saying something.
Oh, Jack.
That's Jazz. We also have the New York Knicks hiring a head coach. And then Pat McAfee said something about the Browns' new stadium that I completely 100% agree with. So first,
number 5.
We'll start with the Padres. And we all know they played a doubleheader yesterday. And I know this happens for lots of teams. But for a team like the Padres, Tony, I don't know if you're going to like this question. Does this set them back a little bit, or is today's day off enough rest for them? Because other teams do this often. Padres don't usually have doubleheaders.
Oh, wait.
I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. I knew this was coming. Like, are they? How much does a doubleheader hurt your team?
I guess it all depends on how much pitching you had to use. I think position players will, especially with an off day behind it, will recover fine. The question is how many arms did you have to use, and the Padres did all right in terms of what they had to use in the doubleheader. So I don't think there'll be any carryover because of the doubleheader. You had the off day, guys got to sleep in for the most part today, I would assume. I think they'll be fine.
I'll go with Tony and say I think they'll be fine. I did get a fan question though that he was asking, what do players do once they find out the game is postponed? What do you do for the rest of the day? Do you go back to the hotel? Do you guys go out to dinner?
I went out to dinner. Me and Jesse went out to dinner.
Okay.
We went to this restaurant called Park, which is a French restaurant. It was good stuff.
Oh, okay.
I think it varies. Some guys, depending on where we are, when the rain delay happens, they may know someone. They may want to go out and get some food. They may just kick it in their room until the next day. There's some options there, but I would say most guys probably just hang out in the room.
That was a lot of rain. That was Ben Higgins put up a video of the visitors clubhouse getting flooded.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Number 4.
All right, Clayton Kershaw reached a feat not many do last night. He got his 3,000th strikeout for the final out of the 6th inning, freezing White Sox third baseman Vinny Capra with a slider. The 3,000 strikeout club is already a pretty exclusive group of just 20 players, and Kershaw is just the 4th left-hander to achieve the feat.
Yeah.
Joining is CC Sabathia, Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and Tony. I checked. You are not one of those 3,000 strikeouts against Clayton Kershaw.
I knew that.
You had 2 at bats. You went, I believe, 1 for 2.
That's correct.
Off of a future Hall of Famer. So that's good stuff. The question now is, I guess I'm up first. How many 3,000 strikeout pitchers do you think we'll see going forward? I looked into this just so I knew I had an answer for this.
Look at you.
I don't think we'll see many, but there are still some guys that are at 2,500 strikeouts. So if they can maybe get there, but 3,000.
Who's the closest to 3,000 right now? You didn't get that though?
No, I did. I just forgot the name right now.
Oh my Lord.
Career strike. I think it might be Chris Sale.
Okay. You don't know what the number is though.
I don't know what the number is. Give me 1 second. This is so messed up.
Oh, man.
Actually, no, it is. It's not Chris Sale. It's Justin Verlander. He's got 3,471 strikeouts. He's the highest active player right now.
3,400? Is that what you said?
471. Max Scherzer, 3,419.
I don't know that they're going to make it.
Clayton's got 3,000. The next one, okay, there's Chris Sale, 2,528.
How old is Chris Sale?
Chris Sale is, let's see, how old is he? He's in his 30s. He's 36.
I don't think he's going to make it either. 4,000 we're talking?
No, we're talking 3,000.
3,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Verlander and them already got there.
I know. I don't know why I mentioned him. This question threw me off for some reason. I have no idea why.
It's your own question.
I know. I don't know why. Chris Sale, though, is the next active guy.
25.
28. 25, 28.
He's going to get there.
So he needs like 400. I'm not even going to do it. 472, maybe. Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah.
Next 3 years, 4 years.
Wait, you said how many does he have? 38?
You hit a home run against King Felix.
Yeah, he's not pitching anymore, so he's not going to get there.
No, he's not going to get there. But I just wanted to mention that to make me look smart after I just fumbled that entire question. But
all right, nonetheless,
your answer is you don't think many 3,000 strikeout pitchers are going to happen going forward.
Unless things change in terms of starters, and seeing them. Like if there are more staffs doing what the Phillies rotation is doing, or they're going 6-7 innings, and they're a strikeout guy, but as long as you don't have the innings to be able to get there, it's going to be difficult.
Zach Wheeler, 1761, so he's got a long way to go, but anybody can get there. It's probably Zach Wheeler, one of those guys. All right,
Wheeler's at how much?
1721.
Number 3.
Playing out of position has been a major topic this year in baseball, and we had another player comment this week, and it's Yankees second baseman, now third baseman, Jazz Chisholm Jr. He talked to the media about it. After revealing the Yankees told him he would only play second base this year, he told The Athletic, quote, "Everybody knows I'm a second baseman. Of course I want to play second base, but whatever it takes to help the team win. If that's what the team chooses, that's what I got to do. I don't write the lineups. I'm playing every day, so it's hard to be upset. Yes, I know I'm a second baseman. Yes, I know I'm better at second base. But at the end of the day, I still have to play third. I just have to deal with it," end quote. My question, Tony, why bring it up if you want to do what's best for the team? And I looked to see if someone was asking, and I could not find out why this topic came up.
I'm sure someone asked him about it. He just randomly called the media over and was like, "Hey, come on over here, guys. I want to tell you something."
For you.
I mean, so he was asked about it. Of course he was. And so your question is, why bring it up? I don't know that he brought it up. I think
Could he have answered this better?
I thought his answer was good.
Okay.
He said he was being truthful. Of course I want to play second base, but basically I'm going to do what the team's asking me to do. Not everybody looks at it that way, as we know. And so, I think I didn't have a problem with his answer. I think you were just looking for something there, Skraby.
The Yankees told him he would only play second base this year. I think what happens here is that teams need to stop telling players they're only going to play one position.
They shouldn't. They certainly should know better than to make it seem like it. But I'm sure that when Jazz is smart, I'm sure when the injury happened, he knew that he was probably going to have to shift over. There was a chance. I'm sure there was some communication in that, which allowed him to kind of get there. Not that he needed help to get there, but if he did, it would have allowed him to kind of get himself there to be able to do it. He played third there last year when he got traded, so it's not like a foreign thing to him.
Does this all much just make Rafael Devers look worse and worse? Because you got two guys now. You got Jazz, and then there was another guy earlier who said the same thing.
Again, we don't know what the communication was. I don't know that Jazz or whoever the other individual you're talking about would have felt like they needed that. But certainly Devers was one of those dudes, and you knew that though. So I don't know. It doesn't make Devers look good. Because I think we've said that for me. He could have certainly have handled his portion of
both sides
better. But the fact that Jazz in particular has been like, cool, wherever you need me, doesn't look good. But we also don't know if the communication was better there or different from what Devers got.
The only thing I would say is Aaron Boone probably just rolls his eyes and is like, now I got to deal with these questions from the New York media. Why did you tell Jazz he was only going to play second base? Aaron Boone's really good at dealing with the media.
Aaron Boone knows he's in New York, and that's what they do. Like, this isn't
they question.
This is light work for they ain't really pressing him. They just asked him. I'm sure, man. They just asked him about playing second base, and maybe trying to get him to be mad and
Nudge.
trying to push him out there, but he didn't take the bait.
Good for him. I think Jazz is born to play in New York. He's just good.
He seems like his
his personality
well.
is good.
He handles it well,
Yes,
so
he does.
at least right now, it's early. It's only his
Let's see what
second
happens.
season, right?
Let's see what happens. The New York Knicks have reportedly hired Mike Brown to be their next head coach, according to reports. This will be the fourth time he has been made head coach of a team. Started with the Cavs, went to the Lakers, then he went back to the Cavs, and then the latest head coaching hire for him was with the Kings, but was let go after 2.5 seasons. So I'm up first. Is this the right move? I don't know, but I don't think it's a splash that they wanted to make. Nothing against Mike Brown. He seems like a good coach. Obviously, he was with the Golden State Warriors for many years while they were playing. He was an assistant coach while they were winning championships. But why has he been let go from so many jobs? That's my question. And if I'm the Knicks, I'm asking that question. Why do you keep getting fired from head coaching jobs? That's where my concern would be if I'm a Knicks fan. Why this guy? Why not try someone else? But why a guy who's already been through 4 head coaching tenures? Tony, is this the right move?
I think it's the best move they can make. They've bungled this in a major way, firing their head coach that had gotten them to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, and then seemingly not having a plan, or thinking so highly of their organization that they would just be able to walk into any organization and take their head coach, and it did not work out. And so, Mike Brown, and the irony of this is Mike Brown was fired by a team who he had also helped get further than they had been. And matter of fact, I think he might have been coach of the year before he got fired. So they're all rolling in the same. These teams are rolling in the same groups, right? I mean, they're firing the coach that they have that in both of these cases got them further than they had been in it forever. And so Kings firing, they move on to Doug Christie, a homegrown Sacramento guy, and the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau, who had gotten them, I said, to the Eastern Conference Finals back-to-back seasons, and they got rid of him for a guy that just got let go from the Kings and had gotten them farther than whatever. So I think it's the best they could do. They played themselves thinking they were just going to waltz into Dallas or waltz into whatever you consider the best coach in the league and just be able to take them.
Yeah, or the Knicks.
Right.
You're going to be hired by us.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Perfect time.
It's been a while since we've played
timing.
that one. Been a while.
Number 1.
The Cleveland Browns took a big step forward in getting a new stadium for their team after the governor of Ohio signed a document that would put money towards the stadium. Now, Pat McAfee talked about this, and he made a great point. The roof of this new stadium is not going to be retractable. It's going to be fully enclosed dome, and Clevelanders, according to Pat McAfee, want their football outside. The reason for the roof is to try and lure a Super Bowl and or a Final Four to the stadium down the road, maybe even a WrestleMania I saw. So, Tony, you're up first. Is Browns football meant to be played outside?
This is a really good question.
Thank you. Pat McAfee coming up with the content.
I think it is meant to be played outside, but what type of long-lasting impact can hosting a Super Bowl in the city of Cleveland?
Does someone want to go to Cleveland for a Super Bowl?
That's a good question, but
in the middle of February,
everybody goes to. I mean, they went to Minnesota.
I was at Minnesota.
Yeah.
It was cold.
Was there people there?
There were, but we were cold.
But there were people there.
There were people there.
They made a lot of money.
Where there was a couple icicles out there, people that turned into ice.
Well, get yourself ready for some more icicles because this was. I want to say no, or I should say yes. It's meant to be played outdoor. But man, I'm sure the city of Cleveland itself could use, a boost in the economy like a Super Bowl coming out. Granted, that's just a one.
It's a one-off
thing. But those type of. I remember when the first Super Bowl was here. That's how we got Fashion Valley Mall up to where it was.
Because they had to put money into it.
The upgrade was there.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, you're looking at another renovation of it now or just finished.
Yeah.
But that first one came right after that Super Bowl, right during that time. And I can't.
But it's an economic boost.
It has to be. So I think there's both answers two things can be true in this situation. Cleveland Browns football should be played outdoor.
Yeah.
But you're weighing that versus the kind of economic.
Yeah, I don't think they care because the owners are going to be like, "Hey, give me that money."
I think that's how it always goes.
It's
hard to imagine the Browns being anything but outside and cold.
Yeah, and near the lake. They're going to move away from the lake. AJ Hawk was saying on this Pat McAfee segment he doesn't like it. He said Clevelanders want to be in the snow. It's part of their identity.
It is.
Why not make a retractable roof? I know it's not that easy
because it's super expensive.
I understand.
And is there one in the NFL?
Retractable roof?
Yes,
there's got to be.
I don't think there is.
There has to be. Yes, there is.
Who?
Arizona.
Okay.
Arizona's a retractable roof.
They're the only one. Is it a retractable roof or does the field just come outside?
They open the top.
Okay, yeah.
No, I'm trying to think of somewhere else.
I think that's the only one.
That is kind of crazy. Never thought about that.
Because football stadiums are huge.
And they're supposed to be outdoors. So there you go.
I'm just saying.
Cleveland, this is not for you. Okay.
This isn't for you.
I am not a fan of this. I am not a fan of the Browns moving indoors because Jimmy Haslam wants to make a couple bucks off the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's supposed to be outside.
Yeah. Outside it is. All right. That's it for the Big Five. When we get back, I'm going to update you on the news of the day. Plus, we still have an interesting thought about Sandy Alcantara we'll talk about on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, it's Ben and Woods. Sometimes sports is serious business, but a lot of the time it can get downright silly.
If you like a show that isn't afraid to make fun of sports stars or ourselves, join us weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
At Ralph's, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix that's guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower than low prices. Hand it to Ralph's shoppers. You never compromise. Ralph's. Fresh for everyone.
Save big on 12 packs of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Canada Dry. Select varieties are $4.49 each plus CRV with your card when you buy 5. Ralph's. Fresh for everyone.
Hey, I'm Austin Gardner.
And I'm Kyle Loby. We're the founders of GL Pools, San Diego's largest family-owned pool service and repair company.
We're grateful to have helped thousands of San Diegans keep their pools crystal clear since 2006, and we'd love to help you too.
Call GL Pools today and mention radio, and we will give you 1 free month of pool service so you can experience what pool service should be, with no contracts, no commitments.
You've worked hard for your backyard, and so will we. Visit glpools.com today and get back to enjoying your pool. That's glpools.com.
Hey, it's Ben Higgins here to discuss a serious topic I spent way too much time avoiding. As a parent, I know I want my family to be taken care of when I'm gone, and I just assume things would be obvious if the unthinkable happened. But did you know that if you pass away without a will, the state decides what happens to all your assets and even your kids? But that's all avoidable thanks to Trust and Will's easy online process to nominate guardians and plan your legacy. Don't leave your most important decisions to the state. Visit trustandwill.com and create a plan. Use code FAN for a 20% discount at trustandwill.com.
You got a new Tucson from Hyundai of El Cajon?
Yep, I went with half a car.
What's half a car?
It's simple. Drive a new Hyundai, only pay for the part you actually use. Then in 3 years, renew 3 or walk away.
So like a lease?
Smarter than a lease. This is half a car and all the confidence. I chose how I pay.
Half a car, renew 3. Only at Hyundai of El Cajon. $169 per month lease with $61.52 on approved credit. Not all will qualify plus tax, title, lessons, and $150 title and registration process. Rebates and incentives to deal. 36-month lease. 10,000 miles per year through HMF. Expires August 3rd, 25.
At Verizon, lock in our best price ever on the best 5G in San Diego and be the best you. Stream your favorite music on the way to the beach. Check how the tide's looking for a day on the water. And save big with Verizon while you do it all. Switch today and pay $45 a month for a single line. That's right, just $45 a month when you bring in your phone with unlimited welcome with auto pay plus taxes and fees. Stop by your nearest Verizon store today. $20 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G and 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Rankings based on root metrics root score report dated 2H 2024. Your results may vary. Additional terms apply.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back?
back. If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code FRESH to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code FRESH for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code FRESH for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
What's up, everybody? Tony Gwynn Jr. here. SDCCU's Stuff the Bus is back to collect monetary donations to purchase back-to-school supplies for students experiencing homelessness in San Diego County. Kids face many hardships. School supplies should not be one of them. Donations can be made in branch, online, or in store at participating Jersey Mike's locations. Help us support the more than 23,000 students experiencing homelessness in San Diego County. Federally insured by the NCUA. For details, visit sdccu.com/donate.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
Hey, it's Ben and Woods. We're on summer break, but we'll rejoin you on Monday, July 7th.
Have a lovely and safe 4th of July holiday. We'll be back soon.
Listen to Ben and Woods weekdays from 6 to 10 on 97.3 The Fan. KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Tony Gwynn Jr. here. Don't worry about missing Padres news. We'll update you on the latest on your way home. Gwynn and Chris, weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on 97.3 The Fan.
And Odyssey Sports Station. The workday is coming to an end.
It is 5 o'clock. I will see you all tomorrow.
But Gwynn and Chris are just getting started.
Sports talk it is.
Your hosts, Tony Gwynn Jr.
Now, I will say, the journey, and it was a journey, to get to the press box is one of the toughest journeys I've been on.
And Chris Ello.
If he hits 2 home runs every game, including a well, it's gonna be one of those days, huh?
It's time to get you up to speed on all things sports.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
With plenty of nonsense in between.
Oh, look! Here comes our fearless producer!
Gwynn and Chris starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Final hour of Gwynn and Chris. I'm Matt Skraby. Thank you for joining us, or me. There's literally no one in the building, so you're joining me. And I guess everybody else who's listening. On 4th of July Eve, I was just reading about firework danger. And I just have to say, everybody, I want to make sure everybody has their hands when they come back over the weekend. Just don't do anything dumb. Don't do anything dumb. It's easier said than done, but here's a story I'll tell you from way back in my day about a firework incident, and it should maybe hopefully scare you into never doing it for yourself. But this was a long time ago. This was like when I was maybe 15 or 16, and we had some fireworks. And one of them we put into like this little thing on a fence so that we could light it, run away, and watch it explode. Well, we lit it. We ran away. The firework didn't explode. And so we're sitting there for like a good 30, 35 seconds. We're like, why is this thing not? Oh, no. Now someone has to go fix it and relight it maybe. Well, I was the one who did that. And as I'm walking over to it, I'm thinking, I hope I don't blow my hand off when I'm doing this. And as I was reaching up to grab it off of the fence, it exploded. And I could have lost my hand easily. So please, people, be careful out there. Please be careful. And don't do anything stupid. Because I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. And I know what it feels like to do stupid things. It doesn't feel great. And you're going to regret it. I promise you that. Jason Pierre-Paul regrets his firework usage. Also, the stadium, we were just talking about Cleveland Browns and whether or not they should play in an outdoor stadium or a retractable roof stadium. Now, I knew once we did this earlier, I was going to have to go and look for all the stadiums that are retractable roof in the NFL because I cannot believe that there's only like one of them. So the Cardinals were one, and they do have a retractable roof. Here are some others in the NFL. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. I didn't think about this being a retractable roof because it doesn't like open the entire roof, but it opens a big circle on top of the roof. So you have that. Also, Cowboy Stadium, I didn't think of having a retractable roof because it doesn't open up everything, but Cowboy Stadium does have a retractable roof, and it opens every once in a while. I mean, I think last year there was like they were trying to open the roof or something, and a big piece of sheet metal fell from the roof and almost hit someone. But that is the second one. Then you have Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. It takes about 11 minutes to open or close this one, but that is also a retractable roof. I will say I did not know this was a retractable roof at Lucas Oil Stadium. That is not something I was aware of, but now I am. And then there was another one that I had no idea was retractable, and it's NRG Stadium in Houston, because the reason I didn't know about this being retractable is because they've only done it a few times. Like I typed in NRG Stadium opens roof, and the first article that came up was from 2020, and it was the first time at that time that they had opened the roof in 6 years. So they don't open the roof very often at Texans games. That would be really strange to actually see sunlight during Texans games. But those are the quick ones I saw real quick. I don't think that Cleveland, I don't think that they should be indoors. I just don't think that they should be indoors. It's just not something I am a fan of. I am going to hold on to that football feel for as long as I possibly can, but we've seen some pretty good snow games at Cleveland game or at Browns games, and I want to continue to see snow games. Maybe it's not like the best thing for the players, but watching it, I love watching snow games, especially blizzard games. Those ones are fun too. Not the one that the 49ers played against the Bills last year, because that was ridiculous. Christian McCaffrey got hurt, and Josh Allen, he caught a touchdown after throwing it to, I think it was Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper lateraled it back to Josh Allen, and he caught it and ran it in. So he had a receiving touchdown, he had a passing touchdown, all of that. But that was the only snow game I didn't like. So there you go. My quick update on retractable roofs in the NFL. Happy Hour is brought to you by GL Pools, the swimming pool experts trusted by thousands of San Diegans since 2006. Baseball season is in full swing, and so is swim season. Call GL Pools and mention radio for a free month of pool service. I went in the pool yesterday because I had the impromptu day off due to the doubleheader, which was very nice. I got a lot of things done yesterday. I was very productive adult yesterday. It was just awesome to get all that done before the weekend. But I went swimming, and one thing everybody knows is that my dog Lucky loves water. He loves to jump in the ocean. He loves to jump in lakes. He loves to jump in puddles. He loves to jump in. He loves the gutter water. As we're walking home from, walking on the walk, he'll go into the gutter with all the runoff, and he'll just like walk in it. He loves it. But it's so strange that he doesn't like the pool. I cannot get the guy in the pool. And I think I'm okay with that, actually, because I don't want him always jumping in the pool, especially when I'm not there. But he is like deathly afraid of the pool. And we're talking about my dog. He's a husky golden retriever. He's a Goberian is what they call him, a golden Siberian. And he swims everywhere except for the pool. I don't really get it. I guess I'm not too mad at it, but I was like, come on in. He just wouldn't have anything to do with it. So I went over and I was going to lift him, even though he's like 90 pounds. But I went over to him and I was like, I can't. He just kept moving and flailing and doing all this other stuff. So I wasn't able to get him in the pool. It's very weird. I know that there are some people out there that have dogs that will not get out of the pool. And that's, I guess, a good thing for me, is that I don't have to deal with that. But it's very strange how he loves everything to do with water except for the pool. So yeah, it was a nice day yesterday. It's a nice day today. I honestly feel like it's the weekend. I feel like it's a Saturday or something because there are so many people out and there are so many people enjoying their long weekends. And if you're working, you're with me. So stick with me. I'll stick with you at least until 6 p.m. Now, I wanted to get into this real quick because Nick Pivetta has been an important piece for the Padres this year. And if you're going to criticize AJ Preller, criticize him for something else other than Gavin Sheets and Nick Pivetta. Because without those two guys being brought in the offseason for relatively small contracts, this team is struggling. And this team is probably not over 500. And Nick Pivetta has been so important for the Padres. Where would they find 97 innings from a starter this year? Because it wouldn't have been, it can't be, Michael King because he's hurt. Dylan Cease leads the Padres with 97 and a third innings pitched. Nick Pivetta 97 innings even. Nick Pivetta is 9-2, 3.25 ERA. He started 17 games. 97 innings is a lot of innings to cover for a team. And Nick Pivetta has been very good at covering those innings for them. And if they did not have Nick Pivetta, they would have had to find 97 innings worth of pitching. And if you think their bullpen is taxed now, think about where they would be without Nick Pivetta. Randy Vasquez actually comes in number 3rd on the innings pitched list for the Padres this year. He has pitched 84 to 3rd. And this will tell you where the Padres starting pitching is at right now, because Stephen Kolek is the 4th highest pitcher on the team with 62 and 2/3 innings and 11 starts. He hasn't even started. I guess 18 or 17. We'll just say 17. He's 6 starts below those guys. And he's still above Michael King, who went 55 and 2/3 in 10 innings, which Michael King, by the way, he was 4-2, 2.59 ERA. Seems like it's been a long time since he's pitched. I don't know why, but it just seems like it's been a long time since he's pitched. But Nick Pivetta, with the contract that he has this year, this is one of AJ Preller's better signings. And I know that there are holes on this team this year. There are. We can't deny that. But he has found some players that have really, really helped this team this year. And I was reading earlier about on MLB Trade Rumors that the Padres are probably going to be looking for some sort of help from the catcher position because the catcher position, we knew coming into the year, and I've said it a million times, that this is what we knew was going to be the deal. We thought this was going to be, we knew that they weren't going to hit. They were here, Maldonado and Diaz, mainly for defensive purposes. But MLB Trade Rumors posted today, Ken Rosenthal writes, it's going to be a thin market for catchers, but they've Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado behind the plate have received virtually no production on the offensive side. The duo has combined for a 205 batting average in 296 plate appearances, which is a 70 WRC plus, which indicates they've been 30% worse than the average at the plate, which ranks 27th in the majors. Now, if they can upgrade their catcher position, I think they would. But recently, the catcher defense has not been great. And if you're on the team for your defense and you're not hitting, then you have to play really, really, really good defense. And if they could find a catcher that would come in and hit a little bit better, I mean, Luis Campusano, they have tried him. It just does not seem to be working for Luis Campusano and the Padres. I would not be surprised to see him involved in some sort of trade package here coming up at the deadline, which is July 31st. I think you can get by without a great hitting catcher because it happens almost every year, but it does really, really help when you have a catcher that can hit as well as play great defense, because that's a spot that's not an automatic out. And right now I know that Diaz and Maldonado hit home runs here or there, but they're not carrying their weight offensively, and it almost is an automatic out when they get to the bottom of the lineup. So maybe that's a direction the Padres going. Maybe they see Gavin Sheets being in left field, and they're like, hey, he plays good enough defense that we can keep him there for the rest of the year. And then we'll go after something else. We'll go after maybe a catcher. We'll go after starting pitching, maybe some relief pitching, or a right-handed bench bat. Because, Iglesias has been solid defensively this year, but he has not been the same guy that he was last year with the Mets at the plate. And they're not getting much out of him at the plate, which is a problem because Iglesias needs to be they signed a guy who was hitting over 300 last year in 80 or 90 games. So that's a good amount of games for them to show a team that you can still hit. And although he's been great defensively, his time at the plate has been less than desired. I don't know if that's the right saying. Now I'm getting into sayings, and now I'm going to start saying weird sayings. And so I should just probably go to break because I'm going down that road. But I think everybody understands what I'm saying. It's like there's different options for this team going forward. And having Gavin Sheets in left field, showing that he could play a good enough left field to get by is something that could help the Padres pivot towards something else. Because really, do you need, like, if you could trade for a left fielder and then you put Gavin Sheets at DH solely, would that really help? It depends on who the left fielder is, obviously, but if you're going to take Gavin Sheets out of left field, you got to make sure that you're doing it because there's a guy who's much, much, much better than him going into left field. That's all I got to say about that. They need someone right-handed off the bench. That's what they really need right now because it's just Trenton Brooks. Is he right-handed? Yeah, he's right-handed. He, I wanted Trenton Brooks to do great things because he's local, but he's hit the ball hard. He just hasn't been able to get it done. So there's a lot of different options that we're going to have to see here before the end of the season, but they need to start figuring out what they want here because there's 28 days left until the trade deadline. And like you're going to hear Sammy Levit at the end of the hour, like he said, like there aren't usually many blockbuster trades during the season until you get to the trade deadline. So I don't expect to see a blockbuster trade now, but I definitely expect to see at least some trades with the Padres at the trade deadline. Because if not, I keep saying, let's see how this team looks after the trade deadline. Let's see how they look heading into the last two and a half months of the season. And if they don't make trades, then we have a whole different conversation to have. But I have a feeling they're going to make trades. All right, I went way over my break time. Way, way, way over my break time. When we get back, there's an interesting note about Sandy Alcantara, pitcher for the Marlins, that could be beneficial for the Padres. And I'll share that with you when we get back on 97.3 The Fan.
From the
All right, a little bit of shorter segment here because on the other side of the hour, or the bottom of the hour, we are going to hear from Sam Levit. He joined us a little bit earlier in the show, and they broke down trade deadline. Tony and I asked him about Mike Shildt, the code Mike Shildt, because if you're just tuning in, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but Yu Darvish could be on the way back. I know we've said this a million times, but this honestly does seem like it's a possibility. And the rainout on Tuesday is going to force the Padres to call up a starting pitcher for this Sunday's game against the Rangers. And guess what? That's on Sunday Night Baseball. So Kevin Acee was surmising that could be Omar Cruz or Kyle Hart, Braden Nett from Double-A, or it could be Yu Darvish. He threw 64 pitches in a simulated game against low-A hitters on Tuesday. So you got to think, if he threw on Tuesday, that'll make him line up for Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep, 5 days, Sunday. He threw 64 pitches, so you know he can at least throw that many pitches if they were going to start him. And if he is ready to go, I know that the Padres are going to welcome him with open arms because, as we talked about in the last segment, we the Padres really need some starting length because the bullpen has been taxed here lately. But if Yu Darvish was able to come up, I say come up like he's coming from AAA. If Yu Darvish was able to make his season debut, now would be a perfect time for that to happen. Now would be an amazing time for that to happen. He could throw at least 64 pitches. We know that. When Mike Shildt was asked about it, he said, quote, could be, could not be. We haven't made that decision. I'm not saying it is him. I'm not saying it is him. Mike Shildt likes to play games. And I would too, actually, if I was him, because he knows everybody wants to know the answer. He doesn't want to give it away, so why not play a couple games? To me, you'll hear when I ask Sam about this in about 20 minutes or so. But to me, it sounds like Yu Darvish is going to start on Sunday. And that's just my gut feeling. And I'm probably wrong because every time I go with my gut feeling, things happen. And he won't be starting. But I hope he does because, honestly, they really need him back in the starting rotation. Especially if Michael King is going to be out a little bit longer because he hasn't been throwing at all. I mean, he's been throwing recently. He's been throwing like on a per regular or a regular basis. That was the word I was looking for. A regular basis. So he needs to build back up to be a starter. So he's going to take a little bit of time. But Yu Darvish has been doing this already by throwing these simulated games. So it's not like Yu Darvish needs more time to build up. It's just all about whether or not he feels good about his arm and throwing and all that stuff. Before I went to break, though, there was an interesting article in The Athletic about MLB executives were polled by Jim Bowden of The Athletic. And so I like these articles because they give you like the real thought into what people are actually thinking about this whole thing. And this is the blurb about Sandy Alcantara, pitcher for the Marlins, who is not having the greatest year and has not had the greatest time ever since he got back from Tommy John surgery, but he still has. He signed a contract with the Marlins in 2022, and he still has the rest of this year and next year at $17.3 million, and then the club option for $21 million in 2027. So here is the thought from Jim Bowden. Here's how one GM put it to him. Max Fried and Corbin Burns each get more than $200 million in free agency, yet an acquiring team would get Alcantara for 3 postseasons at a much lower cost. So it makes sense for some teams to try to trade for an ace now, as it would be a lot less expensive. Excuse me, I sneezed. I knew that was coming too. So it makes sense for some teams to try to trade for an ace now, as it would be a lot less expensive than trying to sign a starter like Dylan Cease or Michael King in free agency this winter. I think that is a really, really good thought because you are going to get him for cheaper. Sorry, all of a sudden I'm sneezing all over the place and I'm by myself in this station, so no one else can talk for me. But Dylan Cease and Michael King, they're going to get lots of money. And if you can get a guy for $17.1 million, even if he's not the same guy he was when he signed the contract, That's kind of a good gamble for some teams. I mean, it's a lot of money, 17.1. But like the GM put it, you can sign Dylan Cease or Michael King in free agency, but you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to pay over $20 million a year, I'm assuming. But Alcantara, you get him for a little bit cheaper maybe on the trade block. You bring him in. He goes right into that rotation, and hopefully the pitching whisperer can figure him out. Hopefully the pitching whisperer can turn him around because Sandy Alcantara has been a good pitcher. He won a Cy Young. It's in there. And if anybody can bring it out, it's the pitching whisperer. Also, one of the notes that I think would be interesting, the Diamondbacks could be buyers or sellers, but they think Josh Naylor could be on the move regardless because it's coming up on a contract. So would the Padres ever go after Josh Naylor? I don't think so. I think it would be too expensive to go after a rental like that. And I don't think that the Padres are looking for a rental right now. They have to finesse. They have to finesse their money and what they're paying players into being under the luxury tax. You know, they have to make sure that everything is working out like it did with Dylan Cease and Michael King, as in they weren't just they weren't just a half-year rental. They had extra time on their contract, which is very valuable in the trade world in baseball. But if Sandy Alcantara comes to the Padres making 17.3 for the next 2 years, that's almost better than trying to sign Michael King or Dylan Cease in free agency. I kind of agree with Jim Bowden on this whole thing. Kind of agree with him. So that was the note that I saw, and I really appreciated it. I did, because it makes sense. And I like, again, if you want to read this article, it's on The Athletic, but I like reading MLB executives' thoughts anonymously because it really helps you understand the game a little bit more. All right, I'm just blabbing at this point. This hour at 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Staples. When we get back, Sam Levit joined Tony and I earlier. We talked about the road trip. We talked about the trade deadline. And will he be wearing a 4th of July suit tomorrow at Petco Park? All of that's ahead on 97.3 The Fan. Final segment of the week for Gwynn and Chris. I'm Matt Skraby. Thanks for joining us. You could follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Matt Skraby, MATTSKRAB as in boy, Y. You can also go to my YouTube, The Skraby Show. It's youtube.com/at The Skraby Show. Before we get into Sam Levit, I gotta talk about this Diamondbacks fan because I said it that I was gonna talk about this and then I got carried away on other stuff. But his name is Dave McCaskill. He was kicked out of a game earlier this week because he interfered with a potential Christian Koss game-tying home run Monday, and he was actually brought on to an Arizona sports radio show. And here's his defense to it. And I said earlier when I was teasing the story that he looks up to one guy that I don't think anybody should look up to. But here is what he said. And I went to get the audio. It takes forever for him to say it, and I just don't have the time to play it. So he said, so number one, I'm a D-backs fan. When they asked him, tell your side of the story. I've been here in Arizona for exactly 10 years, retired military for 24 years. So I do thank him for his service. That was me saying that. I caught a foul ball my first year, and then the light bulb went off. I was like, I need to catch a home run. And here's the part where you should not be looking up to this guy. I kind of followed Zach Hampel a little bit, and ever since then, it's been fun. So this guy, he knows that he's possibly interfering with a game. He says, I never try to interfere. If you look, there's been some other videos. I've been ejected 3 times officially. 2 of those have been so close to the line, just like last night. If you watch the video, I catch the ball, my glove comes down. It wasn't the best angle, but that's my defense. I apologize to D-backs fans. I apologize to the Diamondbacks. But he said that he didn't do that on purpose, and that he really wants to catch a home run, and he knows the rules of staying behind the line. But he's also been ejected 3 times now, and he's not allowed to come back to a game this year. My thing is, if you're a 55-year-old man, you can enjoy baseball. You can enjoy going to get foul balls. But you cannot go to a park knowing that you're going to possibly interfere with the game. Like, I'm tired of these people reaching over. It's crazy. It is crazy to me. But this guy doesn't really think there's anything wrong with it. And that, to me, is the problem. Also, he looks up to Zach Hampel, which, if you don't know who Zach Hampel is, he travels around to the different ballparks around the country and seemingly is in the right spot every time for a home run or a foul ball or whatever, and then pushes, this is me kind of exaggerating a little bit, but pushes little kids over to get them. Anyway, I just wanted to say that because this is kind of crazy to me that he admits that he does this and he has been ejected 3 times. Not my favorite thing in the world. All right, we have traffic, and then we have Sam Levit from earlier today. Here we go.
From the 855 Get Ross Traffic Center, protecting San Diego after accidents or injury, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Oil Change, your 15-minute drive-through oil change. Well, guys, we're wrapping things up with a few problems here. One is a crash on the coastline, northbound 5, right before the fairgrounds. 3 vehicles over to the right shoulder. Also in the North County, northbound 15, past Deer Springs Road. There is a collision involving a couple vehicles. Everything is over to the right shoulder. Elsewhere around the county, got this crash in National City, southbound at 5, right before Civic Center. It's over the right shoulder. And southbound side of the 125 before Spring Street, an accident over to the right shoulder. Several vehicles involved. San Diego summers mean beach days, road trips, ball games. Make sure your ride's ready with Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Drive in, stay in your car, and be done in about 15 minutes. No appointment needed. For coupons, visit SoCalOilChange.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Let's go to our phone lines where Sam Levit joins us. Sam, I heard you had a long day yesterday, buddy.
Oh, I did, but nothing I can't handle. Little doubleheader, double dip, and we got through it, and the Padres at least got 1 win, so we're doing just fine.
They did. Sam, obviously a tough road trip for the Pods. They go 2-4. They had an opportunity to probably go 3-3. They blew that last game in Cincinnati. Just give me your takeaway from what you saw over the 6 games on the road.
Well, I think obviously you want to win series, which they didn't do, but I do think they faced a couple of really good teams. I think the Reds are going to be in the mix here until the end, and they've got a great manager in Terry Francona, and obviously we know the Phillies are a really, really good team. So you faced a couple of good teams. You went 2-4, not ideal. You also didn't get swept in either of those. Look, I think yesterday was sort of a microcosm of their whole situation, honestly, in the sense of, I think it's pretty clear they are not playing their best baseball, certainly offensively, and in the big picture of their season, it's going to be incredibly important, one way or another, for them to start just simply scoring more runs and having their stars be more like stars, having Fernando, in particular, really start to get it going. However, you wake up this morning and they're sitting in a playoff spot, and it's not like they went out there yesterday and got swept in a doubleheader. It still feels like they've been able to keep things afloat and tread water, despite, I think, pretty clearly not playing their best baseball, especially offensively. So I sort of felt like yesterday was the microcosm of everything, right? You find a way to win one of those games. It wasn't a perfect day, but I feel like they continue to tread water with the current state of the roster and their pitching injuries and the way their offense has performed. But obviously, I think in the big picture, there's no doubt to me, to get to where they ultimately want to go, they are going to have to start playing just an overall better brand of baseball, especially offensively.
I couldn't agree more, Sam. I think you said it right. It was a microcosm of what the Padres have been over the last 2 months, really, of baseball. Maybe a little less than 2 months. But I agree with everything you said. They're still in the spot where they are in striking distance of being able to grab a playoff spot. They still got time to make this a division deal move into September. Seems like a long shot now, but remember last year they closed the gap and got close. And they're at that point where, remember, the Dodgers have played, even though they've been hurt, they've played they haven't hit a really bad patch yet. They've kind of been pretty consistent all year. What do you got on yesterday's Pivetta? I mean, once again, where would this Padre ball club be without Nick Pivetta? He has really been kind of the stopper at this point. When the Padres absolutely have to have a win, he seemingly is the one that provides it.
Yeah, I think you look at his overall performance, Tony, and I think he's been great, right? I mean, have there been a couple of inconsistencies? Sure. But I think, everything with guys like Pivetta, and I put Sheets in that mix as well, you've got to put it in the context of what the expectations were when they signed, right? I mean, Nick Pivetta was not signed to be the number one, number two guy, right? This is a guy who, before this season really had good numbers at times, but sort of an inconsistent career, right? When you look at the overall numbers, and has shown up, and he's been so important for a rotation that has dealt with so many injuries, and he's been great. If you're giving out first half grades, I give Nick Pivetta an A. He's been really, really good, and has been, to your point, Tony, a stopper, and has been thrust into basically the number one, number two spot of this rotation because of the injury. So I don't think you can say enough about how good he's been. I mean, yesterday, that Phillies lineup's a really good one, and he did a great job, and he's done mostly a great job this season. So as far as a first half grade for Nick Pivetta, I don't know how it's not an A. To me, he's been thrust into a position he really wasn't supposed to be in, right? I mean, you looked at him when he signed in spring training, like, okay, your rotation's probably, if you're giving out numbers, King, C, Starfish, somewhere a 1 through 3, however you want to rank them, and then Pivetta, right?
Yeah, right.
Because you just didn't know what he was going to be. But considering the injuries, I think he's been outstanding. To me, he's an A, a home run, if you will, in the first half of the season.
Sammy Lev joins us here on Gwynn and Chris. You hear his voice on the pre and post game on every day, every game of the year, and you also hear him on our station from time to time. Sam, I thought Mike Schilt had some pretty pointed comments after game one of yesterday's game about the team's approach, and it's something that kind of noticed has kind of, I say, regressed since the end of April, where a matchup like Sanchez and Wheeler, although would be extremely tough in that month of April, and even going back to really all of the second half, they made those outings for those type of pitchers tougher, where, although they may throw up a 1, a 0, or a 2, they had to use a lot of pitches to do it. We haven't really seen that type of approach. We saw it a little bit in the Mick Abel start. Obviously not as nearly talented as those other two guys I mentioned, but what have you seen in terms of approach? What do you think of Mike Schilt's comments in particular?
Well, I thought they did a good job in game one. I mean, Mick Abel, he couldn't throw a strike, and he walks in a couple of guys, and then, as he should, Manny takes advantage of it, right, and finds a pitch he can hit, and he balloons it into a 5-run inning. But look, I think, you have not seen the last couple of months that type of, and look, Tony, I don't pretend to be a hitting guru, so I'm always a little bit hesitant to get into approach and things like that, because it's probably the part of the game where it's hardest for me to really comment on. However, I will say this, just as far as offensively, and I think one of the key differences between the last couple of months to who they were in the beginning of the season and going back to last year, really throughout the season, we just haven't seen them be able to wear pitchers down and also string together innings like they did last year and like they did early in the season. Now, is that about approach? Is that more a reflection about A, guys struggling, and B, the fact that the bottom third of the order, it's been tough for them to be part of that, right? I mean, when you talk about stringing together big innings, it's got to be 1 through 9 if you're going to do that consistently. They haven't had the bottom third of the order, which really allows them to do it. And quite frankly, there have been other spots. There have been other spots in the lineup, with Fernando, where they haven't played well enough to where they've really been able to be that offense again. So, do I think it's in there for them? I hope. They just haven't been able to put together those types of innings that they so consistently did last year and in the very early part of the season. And I guess you could probably look at approach and not wearing down pitchers like they've done in the past. And also, I think it's a bit of just the lineup and how it's constructed as well. I think to me, when they've struggled offensively, it's a mix of those two things.
Talking to Sammy Lev here, 97.3 The Fan. Sam, you have dealt with Mike Schilt all year long in the scrums and everything. So I'm going to try to have you decode something for me, because he was saying Yu Darvish, it was in the newsletter this morning that Yu Darvish may be called up for Sunday's game. And here's the quote from Mike Schilt. When asked about whether or not it's Yu Darvish for Sunday, he said, quote, "Could be, could not be. We haven't made that decision. I'm not saying it is him. I'm not saying it is him." So I tend to believe that Mike Schilt is telling us that Yu Darvish is going to be pitching Sunday. What do you think about that?
Well, here's what I'll say. I feel like I would have to, and Mike, I don't believe, said this on camera or on recording, because we would have played it. This probably happened afterwards, after the cameras were done rolling, after I would assume probably game 2 of the doubleheader. That's my assumption, not knowing exactly when Kevin got the quote. To be honest, and I wonder if Tony would agree, I would have to see him say it, honestly, to know if there's a likelihood that Yu is pitching this weekend, or if this is more of we're not going to tell you. I would have to.
That's a great call.
Mike sometimes says things with a certain smirk on his face that would totally indicate to me there's a high likelihood he's pitching Sunday. But he could also say it in a way where it's like, "Okay, we'll tell you when we tell you." So
this is coming from a man who spends it every day in the scrum with it. It's very accurate.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to see him say it, to be totally honest. I'd have to see him say it. I don't know, but I just will say this on the Yu Darvish thing. Look, I think when you look at him throwing, I think it was 64 pitches in that last sim game at Lake Elsinore. Look, it does make you start to wonder, and especially as we get deeper and deeper into the schedule of, hey, if he, put it this way, is he really going to go throw 70-something pitches in a sim game? I mean, at some point, to me, it just makes sense. If you're going to throw, it might as well be in a major league game. Now, I think we all understand a big part of this has been Yu's recovery and his ability. It seems to do that every 5 days, which is totally fair. That seems to be what slowed down, the comeback the first time. So I don't know how much of a question that still is, but it would make all the sense in the world if he's already up to 60-something, 70-something pitches for the Padres and Yu Darvish to look at this and say, hey, if you're going to throw pitches, let's not have it be in a sim game. Let's not have it be in some rehab game in the minor leagues. Let's do it in the major leagues and make them count. And, hopefully you're in a spot where you can throw 5-6 days later. And to me, that would make all the sense in the world. So I believe it. But as far as the Mike Schultz part of it, I got to see. I would have to see him say it. Honestly, I don't know how to read that quote without seeing it.
That's fair, because a couple weeks ago I heard him giving all the media a hard time about Yu Darvish and where he would be pitching. Would he be at a high school locally? Would he be in Arizona? Would he be here? Would he be there? So I can totally see why you would want to see Mike Schultz say that. But I'm just going to choose to believe Yu Darvish is going to be pitching.
It's a very accurate assessment of Mike Schultz and that smirk.
All right. That was Sammy Lev. Thank you, Sammy. I know there was a little bit left, but I did my math wrong. What's new? And the answer to will Sam be wearing a 4th of July themed suit tomorrow at the park? He said no. But I have a feeling he's going to have some sort of 4th of July type of flair on him. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. I know you had a busy day yesterday, and as your day off, we appreciate you as always, sir. All right, everybody, please have a safe 4th of July. We'll be back on Monday. Hopefully the Padres are on the right side of this series, but really, honestly, please don't do anything stupid and take care of yourself. Make good decisions. We'll talk to you on Monday. Have a great weekend.
Padres Rangers.